break it all down for you. I ain't never giving up, I ain't never giving up. Taking that crown from you. I ain't worried about you, I ain't never. So let me break it all down for you. I ain't never giving up, I ain't never giving up. I'm taking that crown from you. I ain't worried about you, I ain't here to make.
Hello and welcome to Opinions of the Uninformed podcast. Of course, this week we are joined by our usual favourites, like myself, Firefly Zero, or otherwise known as Jay, joined by Rich.
Love Convoy on Instagram. How you doing all?
And of course, TJ.
Hey, how you doing, Property Joe over here?
Right, guys. So, as we said, we haven't got a Last of Us to talk about this week. So, we have chosen a new subject. Oh. What did you say? Sorry, Rich, I missed that.
It's fucking finished, that's why.
It has fucking finished, and we talked about it in great length. Almost 3 hours of a podcast last week, guys. Almost 3 hours of talking about one TV show. Well, I mean,
I missed it. I
Yeah.
missed it this week. I definitely noticed its absence this week. I got home from on Monday and was like, oh man, what do I watch?
Yeah. I will say that the PC players did not miss it this week. TJ, am I correct in saying this?
Yeah, they had some major issues. So obviously, yeah, it got its long-awaited release because it's a Sony exclusive, and it got its long-awaited release on the PC, and it shit the bed massively. A bit like what was that game we spoke about a couple of weeks ago? The EA game, Wild Hearts, I believe. It was,
Wild Hearts.
Just like people with 4090s couldn't run the game. We had people
4090. You spent $2,000 on a.
You'd be livid.
Well, it was
the roof.
It was clocking people even with like 3080s and stuff. It was clocking their GPUs and CPUs at 100%, dropping frames down to like 30 frames. It just an absolute shit show when it got released, which is such a shame because it's such a great game that for people who haven't been able to play it because they don't own a PlayStation to actually finally get around to be able to play it, and you can't.
Yeah, wounds. I'd be livid.
I tell you what I always find crazy, and this will draw into our next story, our main story, I suppose, is I always find it crazy that they're built on PCs, right? As I understand it. You don't build something on a PS5, you don't build it on an Xbox, you build it on a PC, and then you port it to a PlayStation developer console that can run the game. So how do you fuck up a PC?
But it's all done in sections, right? It's like you've got 100 different people working on 100 different things at once, and then it's the amalgamation of like bringing it all together, and then obviously there's something. It must get play tested, right? It must get play tested.
It's got to.
I suppose going to what you've just said, it's going to be different in terms of something like The Last of Us compared to a multi-platform release. So a multi-platform release, something that's releasing on everything, that will be made on PCs and then will be sort of ported to everything else. Something like The Last of Us, though, because it was only on the PS3, I presume what they'd use is technically they are making it on PC.
You've got to make it on a PC.
But it's got a PlayStation 3 dev kit plugged into it.
But they remade the whole game for 5, didn't they? For the PlayStation 5. Yeah. They remade the game from the ground up for the PlayStation 5, which came out last year, November, I believe it was.
That's true. And they must have known about the PC pre
Yeah. So that's like, in terms of just, if you were just doing a PlayStation 3 to PC, I can get how it would go awry. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Look at fucking like From Software stuff. That's like Dark Souls was released like a multi-platform game, but then when they released it on PC, it was hammered shit. It took the modding community to the mods to make the game run at 60 frames a second was out before the game was even fucking out. That's how incredible the modding community is.
By the way, just to interject there, can we give a bit of a shout out to the absolutely incredible modding community that they have in the PC world, where they can make a game better?
They can fix a game instantly, can't they? But yeah, so like there I could understand, but like you say, it's been ported to the PlayStation. They've rebuilt it for the PS5, and that was clearly, there's no way in hell they didn't know this PC port was on the way at the time.
No.
So you'd think that would factor in. I still, in this day and age, don't understand how like shitty optimization on
Yeah.
PC is like such a widespread issue.
One thing I would say that I can understand, like, it must be easier in a sense to develop a game for a console because you have a benchmark standard. A PlayStation
You know
5
what the
is a
hardware is,
PlayStation
don't
5.
you?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not going to be like, well, this PlayStation 5's got this and this PlayStation 5's got that. It's pretty much at the moment until they release like pros and other things. The Xbox, the PlayStation, they have their, you know, their base kit is their base
Is what
kit.
they can achieve.
Yeah.
Is what they can't achieve.
Whereas a PC, my PC is completely different to your PC, to his PC,
Yep.
to their PC. So optimizing it to be able to run on a minimum to a required to a like
A
on the
maximum,
specs,
yeah.
it's like that's got to be a ball ache in itself, right?
It does.
Because you
And
have
let's
to
face
technically
it,
build the game to be able to run at the lowest spec possible.
And every configuration,
Yeah.
you
But
know
you
what I
can't
mean?
you can't just
So-
have the game at the lowest. You need to give people who have got the more expensive console a reason to, like, you know, no one wants to buy a game that looks fucking shit if they're running a 4090 like a 12th generation
Well,
chip,
that's it.
you
It
know.
needs to be able to you know, someone with a 5-year-old system needs to be able to play it.
Yeah.
But then there also needs to be some reason so the person who
Yeah.
spent $3,500 on a graphics card
has spent
can see
why
And
they
why
that's-
spent
they spent
$3,500
$3,500
Yeah,
on a graphics
exactly.
card.
and that, boys, leads us beautifully into our point today, which of course is remakes. So we're going to talk today, everybody. I know I'm cutting them pairs short, but fuck
It's
'em.
all good. It's all good.
It's a rambly
Right.
day, so probably
It is a
for the
rambly
best.
day, right? So today we're going to talk about remakes, as in a general, and we're not talking about just video game remakes. We're not talking about just film remakes. We're talking about remakes as a whole and how this has become almost a generational change, because it feels to me personally, Jay, Firefly, whatever you want to call me, it feels like we've come to a point where we've run out of stories, and now all we've got is to make a choice matter about the old stories that we've told, not even changing the main story, but just altering things. Now, before I let either of my colleagues speak, I'm just going to get a couple of things out because I've been drinking. So
There we go, drunk Jay.
So I'm going to get a couple of things out first, which for me is how I feel about remakes. Now, I enjoy a remake. Don't get me wrong. I'm not against them. I understand that sometimes stories, especially in video game world, which is my main forte, is that, like, you know, the graphical progression of games have moved on so quickly and so fast that a game that I played in the golden generation of video games for me, which is the PlayStation X or the PlayStation 1, depending on where you are in the region. Now they're making PlayStation 1 games again in the best generation that we've had, which is I think we're on generation 8 or generation 7, I think. I can't remember which it
I
is.
think it's 8.
Yeah, I think we're on generation 8 of consoles anyway. PCs, will get into the nonsense that is PCs soon. But seeing things like, for me, Final Fantasy VII be remade and retold, I will say, because there is a very, very, very big difference between a remake, a remaster, and a retelling of something. So
Very true.
what we want to get into today is how we feel about what is going on with the industry as a medium, as in general, because you get remakes of films, you get remakes of games, you'll get retellings of comic books in another medium.
Yep,
And
TV shows,
Yep.
animes, one's just finished.
Well,
in fact,
it's across the board on all mediums, isn't it? All, like, you know, other than really the written word, you don't really see it too much.
No.
no, books are, but then books, you know, you have like the same theme explored quite frequently, don't you?
Well,
So
one of the best horror writers of our generation, Stephen King, has gone back to one of his biggest series, Rich and Rich. I know you know what this is.
Mhm.
And he himself includes a prologue where he will explain that, like, when I wrote this book originally, I was this age and I had this thought, and I've not changed the story a lot. But in the Dark Tower series, he goes through. I think it's the first. Is it Rich? You'll be able to confirm this better than me. First 3 episodes where he fills in and he goes, "Look, when I wrote this, I was young."
Well, it's the first book in the Dark Tower series was actually the first novel he ever had published, and he was 19, and
Yes.
it legitimately reads like a 19-year-old wrote it. You
Yes,
know, he
exactly.
hadn't kind of settled into being Stephen King yet, so sort of yeah, that's a really good point. I forgot they did that. Yeah, maybe 10 years ago they almost remastered like
Yeah.
the first book in the series, and it read a lot better. Nothing was different. It was just the core concepts, the story beat points are all the same, but it reads nicer. It
Yeah.
read like Stephen King now had written it, not like Stephen King, who was still honing his craft, had written it.
Which is why I think that is a perfect. Which is why I set it up. So I think it's a perfect bring in to what we're going to talk about, which is remasters. Some people, a lot of people might see them as like, well, you're diminishing the original story. But I'm a person that says, like, look, man, if you want to remaster a story, that story, the original story still exists. And I say
Yeah.
this because I'm a big Star Wars fan. And Star Wars fans, I may get condemned for this, are the biggest arsehole fans in the fucking universe.
Right, I just got to interject. There's two fandoms that are the most toxic pieces of shit I have ever been involved in. One, weirdly enough, is the Pokemon
I
fandom,
was waiting
and the
for
second,
Pokemon.
yeah, the second is Star Wars, because nobody hates Star Wars more than Star Wars fans.
Yes,
Nobody.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Right. I love Star Wars because I love space battle. Rich knows me well enough. TJ's got to know me well enough.
Yeah.
I spent ridiculous monies on spaceships because I love spaceships. I
Have
love
you ever
them.
played Portal 2?
I have played. Do you
Right,
know
there's a fucking space core at the end that just hops around the place going space,
it?
space. I want to go to space,
Yeah.
space, space.
So
I
they
want to go
put
to
J
space.
in a
And
game.
that's Jay.
Yeah.
They
That's
put J in a
literally
game,
Jay.
is what you're
Okay.
saying.
Yeah.
Right, gotcha.
It's
Yeah.
it's the one place I'll never go. Not
Mm,
in my lifetime, and I'm big enough and
Yep.
ugly enough to fucking accept that I'm never going there.
Yeah.
So my biggest fantasy, of course,
Mm.
is to explore the unknown that I will never get to explore. So for me, that's why I fucking hate Star Wars fandom because they can't just let it be someone else's story. They've got to fit it into their fucking weird narrative that nobody else ever wrote.
Yeah, strange headcanon.
But that's
Yeah.
not just Star Wars, is it? I mean, you're taking that
Oh,
from
of
Star Wars
course.
as a personal thing because of
Yes,
your love.
that's a
But
personal
that
thing
could
for
be
me.
attached to everyone because it's what makes us great as individuals, but it also makes what makes us toxic assholes because
Yeah.
There's a show I want to rip about. I'm gonna let loose about when
yeah,
fucking Jay's had his bit. That, funnily enough, is quite related to this. It's just finished. It's a retelling. And it's had a lot of flack, undeservedly so. And I will get into that in a little
Yeah.
bit.
it's just like we all have our own vision and our own ideas, and that doesn't always correlate, and we don't always agree. Like I say, wouldn't it be a boring place if we all just sat there and we all like agreed with Jay and had the exact
Yeah.
same opinion as Jay or Rich or
Yeah.
myself? It's what makes to me, it's what makes it annoying is the people that go past the point.
Yes.
So I can accept that, that didn't go the way I perhaps would have liked it. I would have done something different, but yeah, no, I'm not George Lucas.
Not my
I'm not
fucking
fucking Disney.
story.
No.
Yeah.
So, and I can accept that and I can detach myself from
Yeah.
that. And I can just go, okay, well, I didn't like it that much. So that's, that I just won't watch it again, or I won't, I'll look at
Exactly.
other avenues that I do like, but it's the people
Exactly.
that feel that they know better. And they
Yeah,
have to be
yeah.
and what I find is they have to be the loudest voice in the room. They have to be.
Yes.
It's like, no, my point is the only point that fucking matters. And if you don't listen to me, then you're all wrong. And it's
Yeah.
that's the problem. It's
Exactly.
like
It's
not
the
being
arrogance
able to.
of
Yes.
fandom. It's the
Yes.
arrogance of fandom.
Yeah.
Right? And this is my point. Because, right, I'm a fan. I love the idea of space wizards with laser swords fighting people across the galaxy for the greater good. Because we've all grown up with He-Man. We've all grown up
Yeah.
with Thundercats, Turtles, X-Men, fucking the Avengers, like whatever your big hero is, and it's all for the greater good. So that's fine. And that's all Star Wars was, by the way. It was good versus bad,
Yeah.
dark versus
It's
light.
the story
whatever
that's
you want to
like
argue.
that's been told a million times before, just set in space.
Exactly.
It's a hero's journey. It's
Yeah.
one of the oldest storytelling tropes. There's 12, basically 12 plots for stories that you can
Yeah.
have,
Yeah.
and the hero's journey is one of the most prevalent across all mediums. You know, film,
Exactly.
comic, anime, you name it. It's a very because it's great. It's great storytelling. You know, from humble
It
beginnings,
works.
saving the universe.
Yeah.
Straight up, it works.
And you've
Yeah.
It
always got
works.
you've got that one thing which like engages everyone. You've got that person to get behind to back. We
Yep.
just finished watching The Last of Us and we spoke about it, like how much of an affinity we have for Joel and Ellie, and they're wanting this that we want them to succeed. And it kind of you misplace the thoughts of like, well, these other people that they're murdering, like he's the hero of our story, but he's not the hero of anyone else's story. But it's like you have that person you can get behind. That's what makes, like you say, that hero story. You get behind that person, you feel an affinity towards that person. You know,
Exactly. And as Richard said, everyone's a hero in their own story. Like,
yeah, exactly.
History is only written by the winners. Like the losers don't
Other fools are dead.
put their titles up. They go like, well, you know, they were better. That's why we lost. But my point being is that Star Wars fandom seems to believe that because they already had a narrative in their head, that narrative is canon. And I'm a firm believer. It's like, look, dude, if you've got a better fucking story, write it down, send it off, put your TM on it, trademark the shit out of it, and say, look, I think this is a good story. And those that have the ability to make your story real will either yes or no.
Wipe their ass with it.
You've got no other power beyond giving your story out. Unfortunately, you can argue the toss about what's right and what's wrong if you want, because it's opinion. Opinion is neither right nor wrong. It's opinion.
The biggest problem with Star Wars is a kids series that all the fans that originally got into it are now adults, and they're mad that the kids series is a kids series and hasn't grown up with them, because it's like you ask any of the old fans about the new films, you ask any little kids and it's the best fucking thing they've ever seen in their life, and it blew their mind, you know.
Because that's what it was meant to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
It was
remember
all
seeing,
it was meant to do.
I remember seeing The Force Awakens and coming out and seeing three little girls literally cartwheeling across the floor screaming that they're Rey, lightsaber battling, and I'm like, that's amazing. Do you know? Yeah, I didn't think it was the best thing ever, but that inspired those children, so it doesn't fucking matter, does it?
Let me tell you and tell every other fucking Star Wars fan something I learned during fucking episode 7. It's not for me.
Yeah,
It wasn't for me. That film wasn't for me at all. They gave me nods. They told me that I exist, but it wasn't for me.
Yeah.
So
It's for the next generation.
See, this is interesting because I watch films totally different to you guys. Like, well, I do and I don't. Like, I have this. I have this. Like, I compartmentalize what I watch, so I can go in. Like, we watched Piranha 3DD yesterday. I know what I'm getting from that. I'm not looking for it to be a cinematic masterpiece. I'm going in there just to be just to be entertained, ridiculously entertained for an hour and a half. Star Wars, I'm not going in there judging it by the merits of any of its past things. I'm going in there. I'm not a massive Star Wars fan. I like Star Wars.
That's fandom, though. That's fandom.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. Like, but I don't tend to attach myself to, not in movie wise. Like, I find it very difficult. People have asked me on my streams and stuff, top 5, and I'm like, it's too difficult. Like, I can't, like, because it's ever changing. But I never. Like, there are very few things that I attach myself with that much like vigor. Music I can do it with, but movies less so much. I just love all forms, like all the genres, and I find that I can just go in there and I can view the subtle things that you'll pick up on Star Wars. I might miss. But I also think that's possibly for the betterment of my viewing than it is for you. Because you're going to come out and go, well, I didn't like this because this. And I'm just going to go in and say, That entertained me
I
for 2
didn't notice
hours.
that. Yeah.
I saw the
I was
space
just
wizards fight with
entertained for 2
laser
hours.
swords.
Yeah, I'm going to go in there with the view of I know what this film is going to give me, and if it gives me it, great. I don't need greater detail from most of the things I
Yeah.
watch, and if I do, I'll watch it a second time.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
Jay will be the first to back this up. I am very, very snobby in terms of the entertainment that I will consume. I
Yeah.
have very, very exacting. I don't have, this sounds so fucking arrogant, and I can't believe I'm about to say this, but I don't have enough free time to entertain mediocrity.
Yeah, fair.
Like,
That's fair.
fucking, if I want to watch something, it's got to be fucking great. I have very, very fucking exacting standards to the point where I've been off stuff that's good because it's not great. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of stuff that I miss out on that, might get good after a season, but okay, I'm not watching 12 episodes of shit to get to it, sort of thing. So I miss out on a lot of stuff very, very almost unjustly, really, because I'm just simply like, anime's like the main thing I watch. There's a lot of shows that I just won't simply watch, and I know they're amazing because people are still going on about them. One Piece, for instance, but there's like 1060 episodes to get through, and it's just I ain't got that level of time, or there's things like Naruto, which is amazing, but there's episodes and episodes and episodes of filler, and it's like I'm not going to sit there with a Wikipedia on my phone. I've got to skip 6 episodes here, and not fuck that. I just stay watching the show. You
watch TV to be entertained.
Yeah.
If I'm not entertained, then what am I doing here?
But
Like,
as go
Sorry,
on.
Karen.
So no, I was going to say, because I feel like we've really kind of moved away from the whole topic
We
of
have.
remakes at this point.
I'm
Well, no, go
about
back.
to. I'm about to
We'll
bring
go.
it all
Hang on,
back.
before
I'm
yeah,
about
but
to
I was
bring
going
it
to say,
all
bring
back.
it back because I do want to hear what Rich wanted to say earlier when we were talking about, and he had a particular series or film that he wanted to speak about. So bring it back.
I know what series and film he's going to talk about.
Jay is, because it's something me and Jay have both been watching. So there's a very celebrated anime from the early 90s called Trigun. Not massive, but very bigger in the West than it is
I
over
will
in the East,
say
strangely
that,
enough.
and Rich knows this anyway.
Yeah.
Even
Jay's a
to
huge
this
fan.
day, it was one of my favorite anime, and it
Yeah,
will
huge
always
fan.
be one of my favorite anime.
It's still going, right? Yeah.
No,
it
it
ended.
it was one and done.
24, and
Yeah.
it finished.
Okay.
Yeah, and
right,
then
okay,
That's all
enough.
it needed,
then
and that's what is beautiful about it, by the way.
yeah, 12 weeks ago they've just done a reboot of it.
Yes.
And it's funny, Jay mentions, the 3 sort of types of sort of remake, if you will. You have remasters, you have remakes, and you have retellings. I have very distinct ideas on all 3, especially in terms of categorizing them. I'll get into that when we
Hang on. Can I just want a thing in there. So hang on. Retelling, remake, and and what was it?
Remaster.
So what about a reboot though? Because a reboot is technically different.
I'd say reboot's a retelling.
Right, okay, you want to class them. I just want to, just for the listeners, because some people will be like,
So the way I'd break those 3 down, like, so in gaming terms specifically, so a remaster is when you take the exact same game and you just slap it through a HD high-res texture, and you just make it, everything is exactly the same as it was.
You might tighten
just
up
a more modernising it a little bit.
You might tart up the menus, you might tart up the the UI
but
a little bit.
The game is the same. The game is the same, just looks prettier.
So weirdly enough, you don't tend to have remasters in any other medium. It just tends to be a gaming sort of thing,
well, Star Wars sort of tried to about 18
what with the
times.
DVD, Blu-ray releases and stuff like that, I suppose you could class as a remaster, couldn't you?
But but then you have a remake, which is the first one that comes to mind at the moment, especially in games, is Demon Souls. So for the PS5, where they've basically rebuilt the game from the ground up using modern assets and modern technology. But it's It's the same game. It's the exact same game as it was. It just is all the new bells and whistles, all the new physics, and rare.
Your Resident Evil 2, 3s, Resident Evil 4.
And then you have like a retelling, which is almost the same sort of thing. It's using the ground, building it from the ground up, but they're not just modernizing the presentation, they're modernizing sort of the story. They're modernizing, in gaming, and modernizing controls. So the Final Fantasy 7 remake,
Resi 3, Resi 4, Final Fantasy 7 remake, Like,
we're all like Final Fantasy 7 in particular is a very, you know, because that veers off the story very, very
yes,
differently. It turns the
Mm.
fighting, it changes that completely as well.
yeah,
Like me personally, I think the sort of retelling is the best approach.
yes,
Because if you are going to modernize it, go all the way in.
yeah,
But yeah, anyway, back to sort of Trigun. So they've done this new modern reboot retelling of it.
yeah.
And it copped so much flack,
Mm,
so much flack before it even started because it's 3D CGI,
yeah.
and not a lot. There's a good reason for that because a lot of anime that's done 3D CGI is terrible. It's
Right. Okay.
universally
Yeah,
well
you're gonna have to
regarded
explain that
as
a little bit
awful.
for the
Um,
generals, dude, because
yeah, like, you know, as opposed to hand drawn stuff, you know, so
yeah,
stuff that, you know, looks like it's made with a computer. A lot of the time, anime doesn't tend to have the budget to sustain really good like CGI. So,
yeah.
you know, you have amazing shows like Berserk that ended up being cancelled because the animation was
So
sinful.
are we?
Um,
Sorry, are we like when the Final Fantasy movie came out? Was it like Spirits Within or whatever? Like
yeah,
that was.
yeah, that's
So you talk? Are you
CGI.
talking that kind of level of 3D CGI compared to your standard anime,
Be
which is like
probably beyond that now. Beyond
beyond
Yeah,
that
that
now?
now.
yeah,
Yeah,
way,
But what
way,
I mean,
way
it's
beyond
more
that
it's
now.
more
But yeah,
life like anime. You as don't shoot me for saying this. Like standard anime cartoon, whereas
yeah.
like
yeah.
CGI 3D is trying to make a cartoon look
Wait,
real.
no, you still get though. You still get the it's done.
Well, it's
So
moved
so
on, hasn't it?
Trigun is, yeah. So Trigun doesn't look realistic.
Right.
It
Okay.
does
No.
still
Oh.
look
Okay.
like a
Okay.
cartoon, but it's 3D models as
Right. Okay. Yeah.
opposed to like 2D. You know, it's
Yeah.
almost like
Which,
Yeah.
video game characters, if
Okay.
you
Cool.
will.
I get you.
as I
Um,
explained, as I said to Rich the other day, which helps with their animation because you're building a
you can do
3D
things like camera
environment
and
Yeah.
stuff.
and your camera's invisible. It never exists. So wherever you choose your camera to be is where your camera is,
Yeah.
like in
Yeah,
a video game. So for anime, especially,
you can
because
do some really
so
dynamic
much,
things. Yeah, but
they
yeah,
do
so
so many good things. Sorry, Rich, carry on.
yeah, no, no. So I was going to say it was a very risky this studio, you know, taking such a beloved property and redoing it in such a controversial style. And it finished last week, and I legitimately think it was better than the original one. It blew
Ooh.
my tits off. It was
Mate, I'm saying
fucking
this.
stunning.
I'm saying this as Rich knows, is like Rich loves loads more anime than me, but Rich knows me
Yeah,
long
yeah.
enough.
He
I know that ever
loves
since I
Trigun.
watched Trigun, I was like, mate, that's my
That's the one.
better
That's
than
the one.
Akira.
Yeah, yeah.
Like that series, it sang to me, as I would say, like it sings to me in a way that no other anime sings to me.
Is it a one and done, or is it they're now gonna release
No,
more?
they'll serialize it,
It
Okay.
looks like there's going to be another season, doesn't there? Yeah.
which makes sense because Trigun did its 24 and it was an entire told
Well,
story.
and this is almost like a prequel because this
Yes.
ends with the July incident, which is at the start of the old
Okay.
Trigun.
Yeah. And it
So yeah,
explains
mm,
why Vash, for those that know, Vash is worth 60 billion double dollars.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like,
So if this is a prequel, where do you think they go after the original series now?
well,
Was
I hope they cover some of the original 24 stories that were told.
right.
Because
Okay.
it was well, apart from a couple episodes, it was like, story of the week. Because anime used to always be
Yeah. Well, it's
story of the
the
week.
main reason for that was because like the source material of Trigun's quite complicated. So
Yeah.
the manga originally aired. The manga was originally released in a magazine and released 2 chapters and then was cancelled. And then it got picked up by another magazine at the same time the anime got made. So the anime got made. It had those first 2 chapters to go from, and then had no more fucking story because it got cancelled.
Right.
So everything after I think it's sort of like episode 6 in the anime is anime original. It's got fuck all to do
Yeah.
with the manga.
And they
Then the manga
nailed it,
came.
by the way. They
Yeah, then the manga
nailed it.
came afterwards, and
Yeah.
like what they did is like as the manga was coming out, they implemented some ideas from the manga into the anime, and then yeah, and then the manga finished. The manga was called Trigun Maximum, and then yeah, you've got this brand new one, which is like a reboot slash retelling slash prequel, and yeah, it fucking floored me. I thought it was just like was stunning, you know.
And
I
Rich
thought it
was
was
one of the most skeptical
yeah,
people
yeah. I
about
was
it,
hugely
by the way.
because Trigun for me is like I enjoy Trigun, but I'm very aware that I don't know. I prefer the creators. The creator did another show called Blood Blockade Battlefront, and I've always much preferred that. It's like one of the best paced fucking things ever. It just starts at a sprint and just doesn't fucking stop for 26 episodes. You know, it's a wild ride. So I've never sort of revered Trigun as much as everybody. Like Jay loves it, our mate Stu loves it, Mark loves it, Jack loves it. You know, Jack bums it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm a bit like I am a bit of I don't like 3D CGI
You're a snob.
in
Just
front
say
of me.
you're a
Yeah,
snob.
I am a
Fuck off.
snob. I am a snob. So I was a bit like meh.
I wouldn't
And
call
then
it you being a snob. It's you like what you
He
like.
is. He is.
yeah,
He knows
no,
he
I
is.
am a
And
snob. I am.
this has
Yeah,
been discussed
yeah,
years ago.
yeah.
That we all know that we love Rich, but he's a snob when it comes to anime.
Yeah, but conversely, you know, if I'm losing my shit over something, then it's got to be something
Yes.
worth watching.
Exactly.
So yeah, but yeah, like say, considering that there's so much trepidation, they came in and just nailed it. As I say, in terms of sticking the landing, which is something that's the hardest thing for any story to do.
Yep.
You know, nail an ending. They fucking slapped it. They didn't, Jay. Like it was
Yeah.
next level.
Yeah. Now that we've finished our advert for Trigun
Trigun?
Stampede, by the way,
Yeah.
everyone go and watch it. It's
Yeah,
on
awesome.
Crunchyroll. Just
Yeah, and
stop what
the
you're doing.
OP,
Go and watch
the
it.
opening theme, oh, mwah, it's a
Yeah.
thing of beauty, man.
I told Rich as if they don't have that in the next season, I may.
They
just
won't.
walk
They'll
out.
change it. They will
I
change
know.
it.
I know they will.
They will.
It's got to be equal or above, mate.
Mm.
Anyway. So we've bullshitted fucking way long.
Yeah, but we were
Anyway.
still talking about remakes,
still,
though.
no, it's still within
We're on
the
topic. Well, I
yeah.
know
The
we're on
realm of topic. It's on brand.
but we've got to actually nail out our points. So,
Yeah.
as I said to everyone, we're talking about remakes, and as Rich and myself have explained, there are 3 distinct types of remakes, really, within the whole remake area. So, as you know, anyone that's been following our show, we talked about an adaptation of a game recently, which was The Last of Us. And now that game has been remade for the PS5. Now, me and Rich do have a little umbrage with it, simply because that game got its 3rd remake now. Rich?
Mm-hmm.
Well. It was right. So originally released on the PS3, remastered for the 4,
Yeah, remade,
and
and then
now
remade for the 5. But the remaster was never full price, was it? The remaster didn't come out at like 40 odd pounds.
30 quid. Yeah.
It might have even been like one of the, like, you know, back when they classed them as platinum, wouldn't they? Like, so it might have even come out at like 20 quid. Like
25.
and it also it got bundled a lot as well with the console. When people bought a new PS4, they got the remastered. They got like you know, the code to download it from the store.
Just to clear up for everyone, TJ isn't shilling for PlayStation.
No, not at all. But I feel we need to like cross all the T's, dot all the I's, just so it doesn't sound like we're turning around saying like everyone's a money grabbing bastard. They are. They are.
Yeah, they are.
But
They
just
really
to like,
which will clear up towards the end of the show.
But because and the reason I want to do that is because I do feel like they obviously the PS4 remaster was ported. It works on the PS5. It works absolutely fine.
You don't need the new game.
I have just played the remaster.
Yes.
It is still beautiful. It runs smooth as you like. There's nothing in it that caused any, like, for me to go, I know what I need. I need this game for 50 quid. Remade. Like, it's literally, I get, like, it's like, let's show what we can actually do with the PlayStation 5.
Yes,
like, and let's recreate. And from the
rather you
bits
do
that
it with
I've
a
seen,
new fucking game.
Yeah.
He's right.
But I also, I kind of wonder with this if they were like, well, the license is now expired for it to be a PlayStation exclusive. We're making it for the PC. Why not? Let's just throw it for the for the, we'll do it for the PS5 as well. That's what I feel they've done with the PS5 version. I get why it's been released on PC, right? It's a PlayStation exclusive. No one's ever been able to have it. I get it.
Go
And
to a different medium.
I just kind of feel that what they've done is they've tried to be a bit sneaky to get a few extra quid in, like by going, oh, we'll release it on the PlayStation as well. But ultimately, the main goal, I think, was just like to get a PC version of it out of there. And then they're just being cheeky bastards, like they always are. Like maybe even it was the people upstairs that are like, oh no, we need to get some more dollar out of this. Redo it on the PlayStation as well.
Well, the thing
I've got to say though, I've got to say, and I'm just going to interject to both of you. That's all well and good. Don't charge me fucking $70.
No, 100%. Like it should be. What it should be is if you own the original in any way, hard copy hard copy or digital, like you should be able, you should be able to get a severely discounted upgrade to the PS5 version.
Right, it's tricky because, like what you say in terms of full price,
but you've got to have it.
The Last of Us 1, absolutely fucking not, because that is what we've just said. That is the second stage, so that is a straight remake. It's the same fucking game. It's just made slightly prettier, nicer physics and so on. So no, I don't know
if they have actually changed. I have obviously not played this, and I've not spoken to anyone that has. Unfortunately, there's someone in my community who is playing it, but they can't play it because it's broken on the PC. So I'm waiting. Yeah. I'm waiting once they've finished it to have a discussion with them and see if I can pinpoint any areas that they've actually changed, if there's any new content in there, because I haven't read up on that aspect of it to know if there is. But ultimately it is, let's say 95% of it is
the original game.
It's going to be the original game.
That shouldn't have been more than, say, 40 quid, you know what I mean? Now say the Final Fantasy VII remake, which is something I'm going to spend a bit of time talking about in a little bit.
Well, I bet you and Jay both, because you both played it. So
I would very much argue that that's above and beyond. That's not just a straight up remake, because there's so much new content. The core gameplay is completely changed. It is effectively a new game.
Well, we're also talking what year was Final Fantasy VII? Like Final Fantasy VII's like PS1, PS2.
PS1 game.
Well, I'll get more into that, because
this is a topic both of us are going to want to talk quite pretty heavily about. So
we'll circle back to that, and we'll just carry on with Last of Us, and it sort of circles into it.
The point I was making, Jay, was that I don't think the Last of Us remake should be full price, whereas to me you can justify paying full price for the Final Fantasy VII remake for reasons
if there's enough new content within a game that
if it's basically a new game, then
if they've just polished,
but that comes back to my
in terms of
reboot,
graphically,
remaster, and retelling argument. Like a retelling deserves full price. It's a retelling.
But how
you're saying you're changing it all?
But
you're saying
how much have they changed? Like you say, retelling is in changing it all. Then it's not Final Fantasy VII. Or I'm not. It's not the same game. How can you? Let's say they changed everything.
But that's what they did so brilliantly, though.
But it's not. But then surely it's not the same game.
Why would you want to play the exact same thing?
Especially if the game exists. The game exists.
But how many people have got access to playing? Like, what is Final Fantasy?
All right. In argument, Final Fantasy VII's available
on everything,
PS4,
ever.
PS5,
what the
PS3,
original,
PS1,
Switch, your phone,
the original.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Okay.
So I see what they did there, because it makes sense to make. All right, we're gonna have to get into it.
We can go for it. Go for it. We might as well. It walks into it. So
yeah. So
in terms of that, just quickly, because in terms of what you were saying there, no, go on. My point's gone. Go on, Jay.
You'll come back. It'll come back to me now. Right. The thing with 7 was 7 accepted, and they said it. They said it in a crypto weird way that a lot of people online read badly, right? Which is what brings into a weird argument that goes on online all the time, right? They said in the title remake, Like they didn't hide away from what they were doing. And if you play the game and spoilers, they show you within what first 3 hours, Rich.
Yeah. It's very early on. Very
First
early on.
game happened. It happened. And what they're arguing is that, like,
This is another
look,
cycle.
this is different now.
Mhm.
And because you have the knowledge that the first game happened, how would the game
Turn
change?
out. Well, so the point I was going to make was an argument I had with a mutual friend of mine and Jay's about it, and they were like, they got really salty because it basically got too hard, and they ended up not playing it because it got
Yeah.
too hard at one point, and then they were bitching about the gameplay mechanics because the way the battle system works in the remake is nothing even fucking remotely like it is in the original. So the originals, a very old
ATB.
school. Yeah, it's a very. It's just a fancy way of saying it's a turn-based battle system. Your character stands there, waits for a bar to fill up. When the
Yep.
bar fills up, you pick from a menu what you want your guy to do. They run off, they do it, they come back, and they wait for the fucking bar to fill up.
But it's
Whereas,
also like it's a game released in '97, so that's kind of like
Yes.
they're at the
yeah.
limits
That
of
was
what
the
they can
standard
actually.
for-
To a point.
Yeah,
You're not like what you can implement now in a game to back then is very different. We're talking like
yes,
15,
very much so.
16 years ago, right?
Yeah,
But-
so they made it a lot more interactive. You move,
Yeah.
you roll around, you attack. There's combos. You can switch characters. You can do all
It
this
still
stuff.
worked on the ATB system of
Yeah.
like your special abilities still worked on, like you can't just slam out all your best abilities, which made
You can
sense.
normal attack and stuff, can't
Yeah.
you? But your actual your magic and your skills and stuff like that still worked on a timer. So it was a really good integration of old and new.
Yeah.
And yeah, friend of ours was bitching and being like, rah, it's basically a new game, and I was like, yeah, man, awesome. And they're like,
Yeah.
no, I just want the exact same. So you want a game that this was my big problem with the Demon Souls remake, yeah, because the Demon Souls remake was phenomenal. It looked amazing, but because it was the exact same game on a with a very pretty new exterior, I was very aware that I was playing a 15-year-old game.
Yeah.
Under
So
new
it felt
skin.
like a PS3 game while you're
Yeah,
playing it
yeah.
on your brand new, and this is
Yeah,
true.
4K giant TV.
Brand new 4K TV and a brand new PlayStation 5 that no one could get for a year. So
Yeah,
you
yeah,
wanted
yeah.
what you're
to
saying-
feel like this is a special
So if-
situation.
So graphically, it's up to modern standard, but gameplay wise, it's still playing like.
Yeah, it
so
still
your
feels
camera
quite archaic.
angles and
It
everything
felt
is.
rugged.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
felt
and
rugged.
Yeah, there was
Like-
no jump and stuff like that.
Which is the biggest thing you notice when playing retro games. Sorry, Rich. The biggest thing you notice
Yeah, yeah.
is like how rudimentary the control system is. Not being able
Yeah.
to pan your camera around, just like the
Yeah,
quick flick
yeah,
button that resets the camera straight behind your character if you're playing like over the shoulder view, whatever. That's so to have that in a remake and not change things like that is.
That's kind of my point. So like just simply upping the presentation of a game isn't enough. Modern, I need it to. I need those
Feel
modern
modern.
conveniences.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and then in terms of say the story, I know the story is quite a contentious one because they changed a lot of the ends of this Final Fantasy VII remake in terms of the original one. But again, it's not overwriting the original one; it's in continuation of.
Right.
But then again, I want to be surprised. It's a story that I near and dear. So I've got this weird thing where I don't want you to fuck with it too much. But
Yeah.
then also, if I can tell you every line of dialogue that's going to happen just before it's going to happen, it's a bit boring, isn't it? So like add something. If you can. Like what they did with the plate dropping in this one was way worse than the original. Way worse because you spent so much longer with the characters and to me, all right, it was different. It was all new, but it created this level of depth in terms of bond with the characters that you couldn't in the original. Because a section that lasted 3 hours, you spent like 25, 30 hours. In the remake one, so you spent a lot more time with these characters. You got to know them a lot better. And then when some bad shit happens, it fucking cut way worse, didn't it, man?
It's attachment.
Yeah.
It's like anything, right? If you spend TJ, like you spend a lot of time playing DVD, so you can get attached to a survivor that you play, or you, I mean, there's a word for it, main.
Right.
But
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
a character that you main.
It's
So
more okay. I'll just to interject there. Go more from
Yeah,
the
yeah.
from the killer side, because the survivor side is just a skin. Like your
Yes,
play style
yes.
doesn't. It's the perks that you play. Your play style doesn't matter. Any characters. Just for those of you who played the game, and just for it being a killer, because the killers all have different powers. So that's
Yes.
more of the better comparison.
Yeah. Because you main them, so
Yes.
you care. All right, it's different in DBD because it's an unkillable killer. But like in a video game, the whole idea of a role-playing game is that you get to know the world, the characters,
And play a
and the
role in it.
world exactly, and be part of that world. And Final Fantasy VII Original was incredible because within the first area when you first play through, it's probably about 20 hours, right? And this game, and like don't get me wrong, you go through the ringer in that 20
Yeah, you
hours, you
do,
go
but
through
yeah.
the ringer. So when they built a whole game, and don't get me wrong, I'm just as sad as every other fucker that played the game, which was like, man, I got the whole game for like fucking 50 quid, and now you're asking me to buy the game with untold amount of chapters to get the full story that I've already played.
Yeah,
Until I played it.
that's something we should probably explain actually. Yeah, so that was quite contentious because obviously Final Fantasy VII, the original, was the entire fucking game. The remake was literally half of the first disc
Yeah.
of the first game. So there's going to be at least another 2, maybe 3 games in the series. They've said
Well,
definitely 3, didn't they?
They've confirmed 3.
So what is this
and
like?
Yeah.
Final Fantasy VII? Well, they're classed as like part 1 then, or something.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
you see, this is my argument. They haven't classed it as part 1. They classed it as Final Fantasy VII Remake. So
what's
they
the next
didn't
one going
say
to be called?
Rebirth.
Reunion. Oh, is
Rebirth.
it
Right.
Rebirth? The last one will be
Rebirth.
Reunion, won't it?
Yeah. So
Right. Okay.
because what they're doing and what I argue to the fans is who go like, well, it's not Final Fantasy VII. It's not. You're right. It isn't.
It's
It
not.
isn't.
It is, but it's not
It
the
is, no,
same
yeah.
Final
No.
Fantasy VII.
You've played Final Fantasy VII, so why do you give a shit about hearing that story again?
Yeah.
That story can be played on my phone. If I want that story again, I can play that story again on my phone. So what they said is like they literally meant when they said remake, it wasn't what we call remake, which I call Resident Evil 4, which they only name as Resident Evil 4, but I call it Resident Evil 4 Remake because it's a remake of the original GameCube game. But they called this game Remake. Now that should be a question because if they're
It's not a
saying
remake
in the title, then they're actually saying we're saying the game existed, the game happened, everything you did is not diminished. Cloud did what he did, and
Of
the
the
end boss got
universe, yeah.
killed. But we're telling you that, like, what if there was and we should be all used to this now because we're all indoctrinated into the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
What if,
Like a multiverse, yeah.
what if another
it's-
universe, that person infiltrated that in order to win that one, knowing that if this universe plays out like the other universe, he loses.
See, I see it sort of slightly different to the multiverse thing. I see it more like the Dark Tower thing, where it
Right.
goes in cycles. So
Yes.
one cycle has been completed, and they're on the next cycle because there's points in the game where a very beloved character that suffers a very tragic end in the original game, like she has visions. She knows the original
Yep.
game happened. She
And it's
knows what's
shown
coming.
in Remake, which
Like, yeah,
is
yeah, that
beautiful.
like it's crazy because they're literally telling you that the original game happened and this is a continuation. This is a what if, you
Yeah.
know. So
So, how much new content is within this game?
most of it.
Right, okay.
It's
So let me
all
ask
new,
you this then. Let
really.
me ask you this
Yeah.
because you've played the first one, you played Remake, you know the lore, the history, the story, and all that. Do you feel then that this could potentially be what the game, like once all 3, Remake, Rebirth, Reunion, once all 3 have come out, it's going to be a complete new story in essence that
Yes.
encompasses the original. Do you think maybe that this was what the game was always supposed to be, but the limitations on how they could actually present it is why you got what you got in the year that you got it?
I got to do it.
Question.
I got to do it. So
I don't know because
no.
I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't know the Final Fantasy story.
Before you give the whys, yes, my answer is the same as yours. No,
Okay.
because go
Okay.
on.
The story that was told and we all played and loved was the story.
Right. Okay.
That was the story. Fandom is the only thing that has brought Final Fantasy VII back, remake.
Right. Okay.
Crisis Core, Advent Children, Rich, if I'm missing any.
Yeah, the Dirge Cerberus, fucking the phone one before Crisis.
But you
Fantasy
get
VII
where I'm going, though,
was
don't you?
not
Like
a game.
back in
It was a
'97,
belief.
what you can and can't achieve compared to 2023 is completely different.
I say no because
No.
of the simple fact that in this new one, you need the original one to have happened beforehand.
Okay.
So,
that's what I'm saying. So obviously, the original one, like I'm saying, this was what they wanted to create, but they couldn't create. Like so, the new trilogy, let's call it, it encompasses the original game, but they couldn't achieve their vision. So what they did achieve with it is all they could achieve at the time. But the reason that I brought that up, the reason I asked that is because I wondered, like, do you feel if that was the case, right? I'm just saying, and they came out and said that there are limitations to what we could achieve in 1997, and now in 2023 we're in a position where we can tell the story that we always wanted to tell, which encompasses that original story. Would the fans be more accepting of it being a remake because it's then
no, they'd riot.
That's fine. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah,
they'd riot.
I very, very distinctly say no because I don't think Square. They was like Final Fantasy as a series is a very insular series, so it's only been recently you really get sequels to them. Usually,
it's meant to be a tale. That's
it's over and it's done, and they're on to the next one.
That's it.
Okay, fair. No, that's fine. I just wanted to throw in some I get it,
mate. I get
it. Fandom has not let 7 die from the popular zeitgeist. So
it's not my type of game, so I never got into it.
Instead of taking the easy route and going, we'll just do the same thing, they were like, what interestingly can we tell in that universe while still staying true enough to appease the OG fans, while also bringing in new fans? Because I don't think if you told the original's tale, it wouldn't have the impact now because it wouldn't surprise everybody because everybody knows.
Okay. So moving on from that just quickly, because you bring up a really, really salient point there when you turn around about new fans coming in. Can we say that with for the people that are shitting, I won't use Final Fantasy VII as the example. I'll just use a broader overarching thing, like people that complain about these remakes. It's like the remake isn't for them. The remake is for the new. I get what you're saying. Final Fantasy VII, you can play it on any system or anything, but it still looks like it is. It's old. It's
still
dated.
holds.
So what they're releasing in 2023, enough time has passed, or let's just say, if you let 15 years, 10 years pass on a game, you're not looking at releasing it for the same audience you originally released it for. You're looking for the new generation. And because of the age that we're at, we're all late 30s. So we're looking at this from the prism of, well, we've already played this. We're not the 20-year-olds or the 15-year-olds or whatever that haven't already played this.
Yeah, I got a point here that I'm going to make. The truth is, mate, that they're made for us. They're made for us because we're now the generation that have money.
The disposable income, and it's the nostalgia thing as well. Like we all have that. Like for
I actually disagree there because neither of you have got children, so I can turn around and say from a parental side of things, I have a child, and if my child wanted it, I would buy it for them. So you've got a different viewpoint than I've got. I've got the viewpoint as you think most people going into like that have children now who are gamers have got their children into gaming. Their children, like all the people that I know who have got children, all their children play games. So they're now trying to capitalize on maybe the nostalgia from us. I remember Final Fantasy VII. How cool would it be if I could get my child into Final Fantasy VII? And
That's how it worked for me.
That starts a whole new like. Generation of Final Fantasy. Like you said, but going in the cycles. So although it's made from us from a nostalgic point of view, but the idea is for us to pass that nostalgia on to our.
I love this guy, but I counterpoint to this, and it's going to lead straight into the next point. And I love it.
Go for it. It's just because it's an interesting thing because obviously you have a completely different viewpoint to me because, like I say, I'm a parent and you guys don't have children, so
that's why I love having you as part of this. I love having you part of this because you will always have a different viewpoint to me and Rich. You will always, because you look from a prism that I can't look through. And Rich can't look through. And like, it doesn't matter how much I say I understand your point. I can't understand your point.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
It's because my not goals and aspirations. That's not the same. But my everything I do revolves around a different most of the stuff I do isn't for me anymore.
Yeah.
What I love about us three is that we're all still man-children.
Oh, 100%.
But like you're a man-child who knows that I've got someone more important than me.
Yeah.
I've got toys that surround me. I'm definitely a man-child over here.
Yeah, but that's what I love about our dynamic. Like,
what was the point you were going to make, Jay?
Sorry. Yes, I should get back to my point. My point was that what I love about that, TJ, is we're talking about games, but would you encourage your child to watch some of the films that you've watched if they're remade?
It's a different medium. I like what you've done there. I like what you've done there.
About all mediums.
I like what you've done there. I like what you've done there because, especially because of what we spoke about before we fucking come on air. Because we all had a very same reaction and point to make over a certain film. Do you know why? Right, I'd say no, but I also have a counterpoint. It's very different to gaming because once again, there is a the experience you have from a video game is not matched in anything else that you will do. Like,
correct.
You watch something. Me and my daughter.
Active medium.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like you are in a video game, you are that person, aren't you? You are taking
You're the
control.
driving force of the narrative.
Essentially, you are the hero.
Yes, correct.
It's the
it's why we play it, because you can't be in real life.
You want to live in space? You can live in space.
Correct.
You know, you can watch someone living in space in a movie, but you can actually live in space in a game. You know,
and deal with all the same circumstances.
It's the ultimate of escapism. So I don't think that holds as much water because let's say I love the Goonies. The Goonies is amazing. I got my daughter into it. My daughter loves the Goonies. It's brilliant. If they remade the Goonies now, it's going to be a pile of shit. You know, two reasons. Hollywood don't know how to fucking remake anything. 99% of the time, they're fucking useless.
Which brilliantly pulls into our considering the conversation.
But with a game, I can sit there with my daughter and I'll be watching her do that, and you'll be like, I'm involved in what she's doing. She's involved in what I'm doing. Like, you know, it's a very much more. It's an intimate thing that you don't get from a film. You know?
Well, there's your tolerance for what you accept from older stuff is very different for games than it is for films. So like something being filmed in the 60s isn't necessarily a detriment to you watching and enjoying it now. Whereas playing a video game from the 70s, yes, that very much is a detriment to you getting, because you're used to things loading instantly. You're used to things that auto-save. You're used to things that look like fucking trees, not just giant green, blobs of texture. So like gaming's a fascinating one because I think gaming is the best medium for remaking stuff because I think as long as you leave it long enough, like you were saying, don't do what The Last of Us has done and fucking every generation has. It doesn't need that.
No.
Let it cook, give it 2 or 3 generations, and then do something from the ground up. Making use of modern conveniences because
me again.
Yeah, that is a story. Again. That is a story that's so good. It would be a shame to be lost because 10 years after it came out, it's borderline unplayable because the industry's moved on so far and so
Well,
forward.
Let me say
Whereas,
this. Let me say this. One sad thing about a video game, it's not like a book where
yeah,
a
books are
book,
ageless.
yeah,
You know,
books are ageless. Like if you lose that console and that game never comes out on another console, that story is lost to time.
yeah.
That's just something that we tell people of, I'm glad it's come out as TV because at least TV's got a shelf life a little bit longer than a
Console.
video game.
Well, quite a lot
But
longer. Quite
Yeah.
an extensive amount longer, to be fair.
but nowhere near the length of a book.
Well, no, I mean, like,
Nowhere
I can turn it. I'll use my daughter as example again. Like, my daughter will happily sit there and watch the original Cinderella, Walt Disney Cinderella, 1950. Like, you watch that shit now. You have to watch it with panels down the side, depending on what format you like, because it's filmed in 4.3 or 4, whatever it is, 3.
Yeah, 4:3 ratio.
4:3 ratio. And it's like you look at it and it's so dark and gloomy for an animated, and then you watch like Pixar. You go and watch like Red Panda or whatever I can't remember if that's what it's called.
Yeah.
But, and it's like bright, vibrant, loud, like it's an explosion in your eyeballs. But you can still watch and enjoy and love. Or my daughter did, like Cinderella, and like want to watch it over and over and over again, even though like it's it's 60, 70 years old.
Well, someone that grew up with, like, I don't know, say the new fucking Sonic games, right? Despite the fact that they're probably objectively worse than Sonic 1, you then give them a Mega Drive pad and play Sonic 1, and they'll be like, what
Where's
the
my
fuck
analog
is
stick?
this?
Why have I only got
they'll
3
be like,
buttons?
what is this shit? Why can I only move in 4 directions? What? This is garbage. No, I'm not
Where's
playing
my
this.
gun?
So,
Why wouldn't I shoot
yeah.
these? Why wouldn't
So-
I shoot these bad guys?
Yeah, gaming I think is a really interesting medium in terms of remaking stuff. Films, it's an odd one because films either it's the best thing that ever happened or the worst because like in terms of films, one of my favorite films of all time is a remake. John Carpenter's The Thing because that is technically a remake.
Amazing.
Yeah.
But now,
a sequel.
well, yeah, the most recent one is actually a prequel, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a prequel, yeah.
Which I kind of like the way they stepped away from it, but I also kind of think like it's difficult because we said before, didn't we? Before we come on about I've just lost my train of thought. What we said before we came on. About like staying away from certain bits and because they're just so iconic and stuff. But I kind of feel also that is the same thing with what they do with these prequels and stuff as well. Like we don't need it. We don't like make.
Oh yes.
You can make
prequel conversation.
Make a different fucking movie. Don't attach it. You're attaching yourself to that to make money, not to enhance the original. Where I kind of feel like the reason you do a prequel is to enhance the original. It should be to enhance the original, to make the storyline of the original better, but it never is. I know we're going a little bit off topic because it's not remake, reboot, retelling.
I think
it still incorporates
well
it a
into
little
our
bit.
wheelhouse. Carry on, Rich.
What do you
I
want?
can see you've got something.
I was going to say, can I let rip on the whole idea of prequels?
Yes.
Yes, you can.
Prequels, legitimately, as a concept, I find offensive.
Right,
As a storytelling concept, they're the most pointless fucking thing that ever existed because there is no tension, there is no inherent tension or danger.
I know the answer.
In a
Because you know, right? Yeah.
Because there's two things. The main character, if the main character, if they're in the sequel, they're getting through this fine. There's no danger. There's no issues. If there's a scar that they've got that wasn't explained in the previous films, they're probably going to get it in this. That's the worst it's going to get. So any pre-existing characters, there is no issue with whatsoever. Any new characters, are dead. Because then otherwise you need to explain why they're not in the previous thing. Prequels are fucking lazy bullshit storytelling, and I've got one example. There's one example in my history of all types of medium, and that is the Sandman prequel.
Right. Okay.
Which is fucking great because we've all seen the show, haven't we?
No, I haven't finished it. I'm halfway through.
Oh man, amazing stuff there.
Are you
Yeah.
finding it, by the way, just quickly?
I've had to take a break from it because I just haven't got time at this moment in time. But I have
Yeah.
enjoyed it. It's a slow burn for me. It's a slow burn, but I don't mind that. It doesn't like I don't have to be like wow smack in the face every episode. I quite like something that's told that
It's
builds
heady.
builds steady,
Yeah,
you know,
you know.
It is
and
heady.
but also
Yeah.
that flushes out bits and like parts of the story as it goes. I
Yeah.
quite like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the prequel to that answered a question that probably the only unanswered question in the entirety of the sort of Sandman saga. And it didn't need to be told.
Yeah.
So quite rightly, there was a lot of row when the book came out because a lot of people, you know, particularly in the comic book world, like a lot of people don't like prequels for the reasons I've just
Well,
mentioned above. They're just pointless.
Rich, just to point on that point, this is how I felt about Prometheus. Now, I love aliens. I fucking love aliens.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. No, go on. Say what you're gonna say.
Right? My argument was Ridley Scott went into an interview and he goes, no one was asking where the aliens came from. And Ridley, the fucking simple point is, I didn't care.
Yeah. I didn't need
They're
to know.
aliens.
Yeah.
Why would I give a shit where they came from? I can totally believe that aliens exist in a fucking massive universe and they might be dangerous.
Yeah.
I like you talking about Prometheus and saying it like that just brings me back to the first 10 minutes of episode 10 of The Last of Us. Why? Fucking why?
Exactly.
But okay, I got
Yeah.
one for you. It's technically a prequel, but it's a spin-off prequel from the main story, but the main story was episode 4. So Rogue One, like
Right.
Amazing.
Don't because I love Rogue One.
No,
You dare
this is
to
my
Rogue
point.
One.
So but is Rogue One not technically a prequel to so
Rogue
does that,
One.
I
Rogue
know
One
it's
for
a
me-
it's a spin-off, but it's still a prequel to
It is.
episode 4.
But Rogue One felt exactly what it should feel like, which is like someone went. No one ever really described how they got the Death Star plans, because when you think about
But no one ever
what it
explained
is-
where the aliens come from, Jay.
No, they
You're
didn't.
kind
They
of
didn't.
fighting your own argument here.
I know.
Yeah.
You're-
I know.
Point.
I will defend myself. I will defend myself. But my point being is that in Aliens, I can accept that aliens exist in a
Right.
vast universe,
Okay.
right? I don't need to know that aliens came from some massive human that killed himself in a pool.
Well, they're the creators.
That's what I mean. Like I didn't care. Like
Right.
none of that mattered. It made no impact to the story. It made no matter whether aliens existed or not. It was just it's these big dudes, and when this black stuff took the big dudes, then they became these horrible aliens.
Right.
I hate
And
the
like,
fact that you
who
mentioned
cares?
Rogue One because Rogue One's usually the other one I mention alongside Sandman because I didn't need. I can see what Jay's about to get to, but I didn't need the questions that Rogue One answered.
No.
I was perfectly fine
Oh,
not
that's
knowing.
fine.
Yeah.
However, I feel like they shone an interesting light on the universe that you don't normally see. So I love the idea of you saw the dark side of the rebellion. You saw the rebellion killing each other, suicide bombing, and all this nasty sort of gritty sort of stuff. And from a total fanboy point of view, I could hate the entirety of the film because it subscribes to all of the issues I have with the prequels. And then you gave me the Darth Vader scene at the end, and all is basically forgiven because that scene was the Darth Vader scene that we never had that we always needed. You know.
So I will truncate what Rich is saying from my point of view. The reason I accept Rogue One is because in A New Hope, when I was 8 and I watched it, and I fell in love with the idea of space wizards, and you can fucking come at me, internet, right? They're space wizards.
Yeah,
right?
100%.
Yeah.
Star Wars isn't. Can we just say Star Wars isn't sci-fi? Star Wars is science, like space fantasy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's what it is, right? So I fell in love with it, and I'm still in love with it to this day. Anyone who knows me will know that, like Jay loves the franchise. It's Star Wars.
Yeah.
Right. So my thing that I loved about Rogue One was I never got an explanation for why suddenly a rebellion that I know nothing about and an empire I know nothing about are fighting each other, and they suddenly one's got a weapon that can destroy an entire planet in a beam, and they've got already the ability to defeat it. So for me, I was like, oh, okay, I'm interested in the story of that. Not only to mention the one thing that's never fucking mentioned in Star Wars is the fucking war, and war is horrible and
Yeah.
gritty and
but
shit. Right.
Star Wars Starts A New Hope is episode 4. It's not
It
Star
does.
Wars A New Hope.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
Star Wars episode 4,
Yeah.
A New Hope.
Unfortunately,
So
if
you
you
were
watch
getting
Wasn't
one,
it
two, and
Star-
three, there's no war there
It
either.
wasn't at the
No.
time. It was just Star Wars.
Well, when it got released, it was episode 4, A New Hope.
Yeah.
It wasn't episode 4, was it?
It was.
when
It
it
was.
was.
It
Was
was
it?
When it
always
pans up,
Was
it's
it?
always Star Wars episode 4, A New Hope on the the title of the screen when it pulls up. So what I'm saying is, you could kind of take in there that you're going 1, 2. Rogue One, Rogue One, I don't know. You might know, but was Rogue One like in his thinking when he made 4,
No,
5, 6?
no.
So
Right.
like-
Lucas only really wrote 4, 5, and 6.
and 6, yeah. But he had an
Right.
idea. That's why he done it as 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah, because
So
he
he could
didn't
do
think
1,
he had
2,
the
3.
technology. He didn't think he had the technology.
But what
to
I'm
do 1,
saying
2, and
is,
3.
so Rogue One is a prequel that came well after the fact. The idea come well after the fact, but it
Mhm.
answers
It
it
was after
answers a
Disney
question.
acquired it as well.
Exactly.
Yeah,
But
it was,
so
it was.
so it was probably never ever going to come out. But it answered the question that you wanted answered. So it's worth you say like prequels, they're not worth anything. They're useless. They don't. But they can.
No, I never said.
No, I'm
Prequels
more
are
rich. I'm
useless.
saying more. No, he didn't say they were useless. Actually, he said pointless. I think was the kind of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
gist
Yeah,
of what
yeah.
you were getting. So not necessarily always. Like
Well,
I feel for the most part.
I'll be
like
honest.
I say,
I'll be
do
honest.
you feel?
I don't
Let me ask you
see
this:
it as a. Sorry, carry on.
do you think Rogue One enhances 4 because you got the answer that you wanted as a child?
Yes.
What I feel.
So therefore, it was
what
worthwhile.
I feel. What I
Yes.
feel. Rogue
I will
One
agree
is-
with Rogue One.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
what I feel Rogue One was the first half of A New Hope that I wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was worthwhile. My whole
I-
point was, it's just.
Yeah.
I
But-
don't feel that they're separate apart. I feel it's almost like someone had an idea for a 3-hour film and went, well, if we just cut to the chase and get to the good bit with the laser swords,
Mhm.
everyone's happier. But for me, I think Rogue One, even though it's not the case, it's
Yeah.
not the fact, but for me, that's how it sits. It
Yeah.
sits as
I-
something that if I was going to watch it and then watch the entire good Star Wars
4, 5, 6.
trilogy,
The original.
then I would watch Rogue One, New Hope,
And then
Empire, Jedi.
I feel Rogue One had a different approach though, because most prequels focus on sort of they'll take an existing and
Yeah.
so what I'm talking about
Yeah.
is usually
Oh,
say
no,
like,
yeah.
like the God of War game, for example. You know, when they did a prequel of that, it was pointless because you know what's going to happen to Kratos, because it's fucking Kratos. Whereas I feel like Rogue One, the fact that it was a prequel
5
wasn't.
characters you don't know.
Yeah, the fact
So
that
it
it was a
doesn't matter.
prequel wasn't the point. It kind of had its own story to tell,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
it kind of
Well, it-
felt like it got merged into an
Well,
ending.
it was probably it's ideal the fact because it's not canon, is it? It's like it's an offshoot. So
What
which
they
then-
call it a Star Wars story.
Yeah, so that's
Yeah.
possibly why it kind of works. I mean, like
Yeah.
my point.
My thing with
Yeah, go on.
prequels is like I'm more than like name me more than name me 5 that don't suck
yeah,
objectively
have-
across all mediums.
Yeah.
You know,
I have a thing that like with a prequel, like to go and for a prequel to actually stand it to stand like to have legs and it has to add to the original story and it has to make the original story better. Which like I said,
Yes.
so Rogue One, like you say, having that like what they have, how they made Rogue
And
One
Man and Timber.
makes 4 better. Like it ties in together those few loose ends and everything. That's where prequels fall down.
Also-
Like we mentioned the Thing. I don't feel that the Thing, like the little bit at the end, okay, let's go and chase this dog, like the in the helicopter, blah blah
Yeah.
blah, and that's and then that's how it all comes about. It's like I could have just done without it. I didn't need, like you say, I didn't need it.
Yeah.
I didn't need, but there are
But I
obviously
enjoyed
some
the story.
people.
I enjoyed the
do.
story of the
Yeah, but
people.
that's what I said.
I
Like, but
enjoyed
could
that.
it have been? Could they have done something slightly different and it just
Mate,
not been the
mate,
thing?
it could have been on the other end of the planet for me, and it was just a story
that's
about.
as a story, it's great. But the minute you attach the thing to it and classify it as a prequel, you're already setting a standard for it. Okay, it's got to reach this level, and it's got to enhance what came before it.
This bar of quality.
I think this is the
that's the
problem, and this is getting to the remake, remaster, re everything. It's a lot like when they do Starsky and Hutch or whatever it was classic 80s, and they did do it again 18. It's like, can we not do the story, which is fine?
Just don't call it that.
Don't call it that. Just
and don't have the characters.
They can also be 4 other characters with a total similar prospect to those characters.
But sorry, go on. Finish your point.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like,
okay.
But that's it. You can have that as well and just call it whatever you want. And if it fails, no one cares. But if you do it under the demise of it being the A-Team, you're never gonna get what they had then, because the world was 20 years younger, 30 years younger, 40 years younger.
It also brings back in that point, doesn't it? By attaching that name to it, you're attaching feeling to it. You're attaching emotion to it from the viewer. If we just go, like, we'll just say the A-Team. Okay, fucking terrible film. Like the series, people grew up. It's great, amazing quality. If that film had come out and just been called, like, I don't know, Attack 4, right? Or Attack Force. Let's call it Attack 4. 4 guys in a van. I mean, that's a whole different kind of fucking story altogether. But let's call it whatever. That probably
Bang Van, I think is what they call it.
That doesn't look as good on posters. It doesn't sell as well. It doesn't bring back the nostalgia. So you can see why they do it. But
that's the problem is when you remake something, particularly when you modernize something and miss the fucking point entirely. That tends to be, but like. Then is that
the guys upstairs? Once again, going back to our talk of video games, like the guys upstairs that control the money.
Yeah.
They're the ones that go, no, this doesn't work for us. We know you're the director, we know you're the writer, but ultimately we're paying your salary. So we want this. Yeah. We need a few more guns. We need a few more explosions. We need
The wonder is, how many times does a script come through and they go, yeah, it sounds interesting. I like the idea. If we say that this is Starsky and Hutch, would it make more money?
Well, this is actually really interesting because we also had another discussion before we started about certain directors and how many directors get carte blanche over what we started off talking about. Steven Spielberg, didn't we? And we were saying, like, how many directors have reached that point that they've got carte blanche that the people upstairs become insignificant. They almost work for the director because the director.
I got an interesting story for you. I was
just going to think about Quentin Tarantino because, like I said, one of the things I did hear an interview with him recently. I think it was with a comedian, Tom Segura, and he was saying, like, he pretty much, it's like he fights constantly, but his vision is the vision. He said, like, and he fights constantly with them coming down saying, oh, we don't know this. And it's like, no, this is the vision. Like, this is the way we're going. And that's why he's only made 9 films, is because it's like he doesn't need the shit that the people upstairs try and give him, trying to, we don't like this. What if this happened here? Or what if this happened? So I don't need that.
Yeah.
I'm working with the people that I know, and he was even talking about, because he had Tim Roth. He wanted Tim Roth as, I can't remember his name. You got Honey Bunny and the other guy.
Yes. I know you're
about. I can't think what his character name is, but Honey Bunny's the partner, and he's in the diner scene. He was like Tim Roth, and they were like, no, and they were trying to get. I can't remember. I think it might have been.
I've read this story.
And also John Travolta for Vincent Vega. He had to fight tooth and nail. It's like, no, they were like, we've got this better guy for it. And he's like, no.
No, you don't understand.
Oh,
that's right. No, that's right.
Like,
they wanted Bruce Willis.
It was this person.
That was right. No, they wanted Bruce Willis to play Vincent Vega. And he was like, no. I've got, it's John Travolta. And like, they even like sent Bruce Willis round to his out and everything. He's like, no. And it was like, but do you know what? I got an idea. You'd be good as Butch. And it was like, oh, Butch, but it's the Vincent Vega role, and the kind of the studio said to me about it, and it's like, well, no, Vincent Vega's going to John Travolta, and like the same with the Tim Roth. Tim Roth is getting this role as Honey Bunny's partner, you know, when they robbed the thing. And I just, it's that thing. I think there are very few people in the industry that can actually turn around and be like, no.
No, this is what's going on.
Yeah. So
like,
whatever we
pay
watch
attention.
is you can almost say is always going to be a watered down version of the original idea, the original concept, because it's not like it's from start to finish. It's not what it was intended to be. There's always going to be.
That's why Mad Max Fury Road is one of the best films of the last decade, because you can tell there was fuck all in the way of studio involvements in that film, man. It's literally a 2 hour and 40-minute fucking chase, and it is glorious.
It really is.
And,
But now
but
they're
also,
under
and also,
contention because they
it's
haven't got
very
their
much
sequel out.
on point with the originals.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
no fucks given. Go on.
What I was going to say was just a studio story I heard. I don't know how true it is, but I fairly believe it. So we've all heard of Futurama,
The animated series,
correct?
Yeah.
Futurama,
Matt
and you've heard
Groening.
of The Simpsons, Matt Groening.
Groening, yeah.
So basically, The Simpsons built the Fox network, right? So we all know The Simpsons. Rich, you definitely know The Simpsons.
Yeah, I know. I fucking I know Mr. Simpsons, man.
Right,
I fucking love some Simpsons. Old
the
Simpsons.
The Simpsons series basically built the Fox network. I mean, they had other stuff, obviously, but like
Man,
the
believe.
staple
Well, it's
was
been how long's it been
always
around for? You know, that's
they're on their
Man, when I was
30th
a
year
kid,
or
it was
something
a
nonsense.
staple on
Yeah.
Saturday night.
Yeah.
You had your dinner at
like
7
6
o'clock. and
p.m.
watched the
or whatever it
fucking
was. Yeah, it was on.
Simpsons.
6, 7 o'clock. Yeah.
So,
Awesome, man.
so when Matt Groening wanted to do Futurama, and now Futurama was very different when it was originally decided, and you know, the studio only gave, because they didn't want to do Futurama, which is why they only got 4 seasons, right? They didn't want to do it. They were not interested in that tale at all. They changed characters, they changed everything, and
Oh, really?
but only because Matt Groening said no, I want to. They had to literally fold. They had to fold because that man had Simpsons. And that whole
But you just said that he did
network.
have to change characters and stuff, so there was some
Mate,
kind of
he had to bend.
Yeah.
He had to bend, but like
The fact that he got it
because
made in the fucking first place.
why it only got 4 seasons, why it got picked up by various other fucking TV shows afterwards, is because it was so good. But like Fox was not interested in it. It's the same thing with Fox and Family Guy and American Dad. They don't want American Dad, so they sell it off. But American Dad does big numbers.
Yeah.
And Seth MacFarlane has a fuckload of sway.
Do you think, right, there might be... So, let's say, okay, let's break it down. You've got The Simpsons. Okay, you're going to bring out Futurama. Do you think that they're worried that maybe...
It will compete,
even though it's on the same network probably, so it's going to be a different time. It's going to compete, so it's going to take... And viewers can't watch 2 things, so they're going to be like, well, I think I lean a little bit more towards... the Futurama, so I watch Futurama, so it takes numbers away. And ultimately, what is king is those weekly, in America, not over here, is those weekly rankings. And having The Simpsons at number 1, anything to jeopardize The Simpsons not being at number 1, it's inconsequential now because of streaming and everything else. Back in them days, it was like, if we're not number 1, it's not good enough. And so there was maybe that worry.
I think it's more to do with if they allow them to, if they allow their don't forget that network companies and production companies are not exclusively the same thing.
And they don't tend to get on very well either. One gets paid very well, one doesn't.
Yeah.
So a production company will make a thing, and it's up to the head people who may have funded it to buy it and let it air. But if they don't let it air, production company will auction that out to another thing. Now, if Futurama is on a different network and it's good or better with Matt Groening's name on it attached to it, it is a contender against The Simpsons.
Yeah, and
And
I also go on.
yeah, and I was going to say that Fox don't want to have to pay for 2 of the same show,
Mm.
but they also don't want to let another show go to a contending network to take their airtime, because all they'd have to do is place it in the same slot that Simpsons
Yeah,
on.
yeah. But
So,
you'd
and
also, if I
that
was
was
someone
then,
from
though. Obviously, now we're in a whole
Yeah.
different.
Yeah, and if I was someone from Fox, I'd be like, well, which one are you gonna pay more attention to?
That's
Are you
Exactly.
gonna,
is
the
like
old staple
yeah,
or
or
the new
the
baby?
this is the new hotness. Is this going to take your attention
Yeah.
for like
Exactly.
So
And
am I
this
gonna
is
get?
this is
Are
our
all the
breadwinner.
A-list? Yeah, are all your A-list jokes then gonna come into Futurama, and we're
Yeah.
gonna get run-offs
Yep.
for this?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're just going
Yeah,
to create the same content over and over again for The Simpsons, where all your new ideas are being pumped into this new show that's all,
I
The
I
point
love the
being,
way
sorry, Karen.
I was gonna say I love the way production teams like get around sneaking stuff around networks and stuff like that. Like one of my all-time favorite ever stories was cartoon The Animaniacs. Like I presume we all know what
yeah,
the
yeah,
cartoon I'm
yeah.
talking about. And that you watch that back as an adult, and that's got some legitimately
Yeah,
that has
adult
potentially
jokes
one
in.
of the filthiest jokes I have ever seen in a kid's cartoon, man. And they snuck it past the censors because they put in something worse.
Yeah.
So the censors would see it and go, "Oh no way, take that out," and it made the other joke look tame in comparison. But it's still watching it back. I remember showing it to my driving instructor, and he was just like, "How is that in a kids show, man? It's ridiculous, man."
But that's
Like
how
running around.
Simpsons used to win, because Simpsons
Yeah,
made
yeah. Ren
the
and
kid
Stimpy
laugh,
did the same thing.
Ren and
and
Stimpy was
then the adult
great.
laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, because like it meant one thing to a child and meant something completely different to an adult.
But that's what made that's what I'm saying. That's what made like those kind of anime stuff, and like you go in with like Shrek, Puss in Boots, and everything. It's multi-layered.
Yeah.
For children, for adults, you can all like the scene in Shrek when he kicks in Prince Charming kicks in the castle door because he thinks he's saving the princess, and there's obviously the wolf's in the bed, but he's got like the centerfold of like pork news or and it's like he's sitting there and it's a fucking Playboy, it's like the kids don't understand that there's just a wolf
they
in a
see the
dress
comedy of a wolf in a dress.
but we know he's looking at pig porn, the dirty bastard,
Yeah, that's why Pixar films always kill it, man,
Yeah.
because like they're so
They
multi-layered.
cater for all audiences.
A kid can watch Wall-E and be like, right, a cute little robot, whereas an adult, you sat there going, oh, the poor bastard's lonely, man. It's like you just
hits those different emotions. Yeah.
Because what they understand, what those studios understand, I know we're going a little tangent here, is they understand that like adults have to take children to this film.
So they've got
the adult isn't entertained as well.
He ain't going to want to go to the next one. If you pull the adult in from the first film, the next one comes in, the adult's interested to see that as well as the child.
And that's good. That's good filmmaking.
Yeah.
That's understanding your audience, understanding who this is for. Right. Let's pull this back to fucking remakes.
Yeah, I was gonna say I just had a remake thing popping, mate.
Yeah, go for it, Rick. Go for it.
An interesting one that so a multi-stage remake actually. So it was a book, then turned into a film, an old film, and then was remade into a TV show. So I'm talking about Westworld. Based off a book by Michael Crichton. Then there was a film that was released in, I believe it was the 70s.
It's got to be the 70s. Yeah, Yul Brynner was the man in black.
Yul Brynner was the man in black guy.
And that film, like,
that was great.
Great film. It was awesome. As I remember seeing that as a kid, and that was the sort of film that imparted a love for like pretty hard sci-fi.
And probably like one of the best performances, like Yul Brynner's performance as the man in black, is just like first class, absolutely first class.
Yeah,
terrifying. Because I mean, when it's revealed, the reveal.
Yep.
Just no spoilers for folks.
It's in the 70s, Jay. Like, we're allowed.
But the TV.
Yeah, it is. It's nuts, isn't it? And then obviously they remade and retold that story as a TV show. And like, I'm only going to talk about the first season because I kind of feel like they went off the tits.
But can I just ask quickly? Has either of you two read the book?
No, I haven't.
Okay. I haven't. I haven't. I just because there's the saying that I would like to touch on once you've fingered Rich.
I believe the film I believe the film is very close to the book.
Right.
So I believe the show is almost
Right,
like it's not a remake, it's a retelling. You know,
Yeah.
they're telling something, a brand new tale in the framework of
Yeah.
that universe. And the first season really for me is one of the best seasons of television that ever existed.
Yeah,
Like
great,
the
great.
acting is off the fucking chain.
Yeah.
You know, season
The
2 was
foreboding as well, Rich. The
Yeah.
foreboding in that
yeah,
whole
yeah,
I
and
thing.
can't
like
remember the actress's name, but the actress,
the main
the main,
woman
yeah, I
in it,
can't,
yeah, extraordinary
like
man.
amazing
The
to like,
music. The
yeah,
music,
Yeah,
yeah,
the
man.
music was
everything,
stunning.
cinematography, the lot.
I'm going to be super smug here, and literally halfway through the second episode in our group chat, I called every major plot point for the entirety of the season. I was so fucking smug by the end of it. Yeah, extraordinary fucking TV, and again, like a really, really good example of a remake done right.
Yep.
You know, we'll
But
talk
is
less
it
about
a
the.
remake though, or is it a retelling? If
Well,
the film,
it's a retelling,
yeah.
isn't it?
So is that
So
not? Is that okay? So is that like the like the way they did it? This is what I wanted to ask. If anyone had read the book, to know how closely which followed closer, the series or the film. So right, okay,
film.
cool. Because I obviously the one thing that's very difficult in a film is to encompass the story of a 300-page book in an hour and a half. It's very
Yeah, yeah.
difficult. But
Yeah.
over a 10 episode series, you can do it justice. You know.
Yes.
So that's why I just. But so if the film is in line with the book, okay, that makes sense. Okay, that's cool. You know, you've got a visual version of that, but then isn't it that doing it that way? So you then get the series is the last part of it, which kind of expands on it. Is like a retelling. That's like the perfect cycle way of doing it, as
100%,
opposed
yeah.
to something that's a book that becomes a series, and then like let's make a film out of this. But you want to
Yeah,
condense 10 episode series into that hour and a half,
Into a
2 hours,
film.
and a 300
No
page
works,
book
does it?
you can't do. So like in the cycle of things to do, maybe that's the perfect thing. Book to film to series. So you can and the other thing that makes Westworld so great is the fact that you've got that it's in the 70s. It wasn't made in
it's long enough to.
2012 and then the series come out in 2014, which is what they do now, isn't it? It's like we've had 3 years. Cool, reboot, retell, remake.
Westworld's an interesting one because all three of them are brilliant. I mean, I've not read the book from personal experience.
No, but
obviously,
yeah,
it was good enough to have a fucking film with Yul Brynner in it, mate. You know what I mean? And then just another one popped in my head. Actually, quite similar. So a three-pronged follows a very similar approach, but in my opinion, the middle one's bad. So Watchmen. So
Right,
the
okay.
comic book Watchmen is one of the most seminal comic books ever fucking created. You know,
Made
in
by
100
one of the
years' time.
angriest comic book creators in
Yeah, 100%. Understandably so, though, because
years.
DC fucked him when
He
it came
did,
to
he did.
Watchmen. DC fucked him with
Right,
royalties.
say
really
his name.
badly.
Say his name, dude. We gotta
Alan-
give him a shout.
A guy called Alan Moore. He's an English
Right, okay.
writer, and he's one of the people that comic books up until him and some of his compatriots like Grant Morrison, Neil Gaiman, Alan Moore. You know, in the late 80s, early 90s, they revolutionized comic books by introducing like gritty, mature storytelling. What Watchmen is considered like, you know, in 100 years' time, Watchmen will still be number one on the greatest comic book list of all time because it is just that important to the industry.
Right.
Then they made a film, a Zack Snyder film. Now, a lot of people really like the film.
I found the film long-winded and hard to get through.
Yes, I think the film. So go on, Jay. Have your because I'll have the most to say about this.
Just to briefly, I found the film very visually stunning, but I find
I'll agree with that.
Zack Snyder a very visual director. However, I found everything else. I felt he missed the point.
Yes,
is how I felt about it.
Go on.
I was just going to say, obviously, not reading the comic books, I didn't come into it with any expectation. I don't know the story of Watchmen like very well at all. So obviously, from my point of view, it I don't know. The story just felt flat. It didn't feel like it like anything. You know, especially when you think of it in the comic book, like Prism.
Yeah.
The very reason for that, my feelings on the film as a whole is I feel it's like, as Jay said, it was visually stunning.
Yeah.
The music, cinematography was amazing. The music was impeccable. The acting, I thought the casting was really fucking good. I feel it was the best possible interpretation of the Watchmen book you could possibly do on film. However, that book should never be made into a film in any way, shape, or form,
Right.
No.
because the book itself, it's not just a story. It's like it's a subtextual deconstruction of the entire fucking medium of comic books. And simply by moving that tale into another medium, you've already lost what's made it special.
Right.
Because you turn it into a film, it's not a critique on cinema, is it?
No.
Do you know what I mean? It's just a film about some weird superhero sort of thing. So you
Big
had,
blue
yeah,
cock
so
swinging
yeah,
around.
so obviously you had the film, and then they released a series set in the Watchmen universe that is in no way, shape, or form related to the book or the film. It's a retelling. It
Yeah.
actually is set after the film. I think it's set 20 years after.
Yeah.
And to me, was some of the most sensational television I've ever fucking seen. Like, I feel like
Very,
they
very
go on.
like current as well. Like
Yeah,
very
yeah, I had a
current.
lot of current political topics, but people bitched and moaned about it, going, "Oh, they fucking made Watchmen political," and I'm like, "Go and read it, you dickheads!
Yeah.
Like, it's super political. It's always been super
Read
political.
anything
If
that
you,
fucking Alan Moore
yeah,
has
yeah,
ever wrote.
if you don't think it is, you weren't paying fucking attention. You know what I mean? Yeah, and I thought it was just absolutely fucking exceptional, and that was really interesting because they didn't try. They just didn't even try and do the same thing. They just said, this universe is absolutely fascinating. How can we explore other themes and other concepts in the framework of this universe? And I want more of that sort of shit. You know what I mean?
Dave
Fucking
Lindelof, who
don't
did
just
that,
feed me the
did that
same
story.
Yeah.
fucking
He's
story I've already seen. Give
Dave
me something
Lindelof
different.
said, just to let you know, Rich. Dave Lindelof said, he goes, "I would happily go back to that universe, but I have to feel like I've got a story to tell."
Yeah, 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 exactly that. I mean, like Jeremy Irons in that was fucking sensational.
Yeah, but what's
Yeah,
he not good
just
in?
something.
Just to throw
Yeah,
that
yeah,
out there.
Fair, fair.
Well,
exactly that,
just to
man.
throw that out there. Underrated
Exactly
as
that.
fuck.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Jeremy Irons, baller.
there's lots of so my feelings on sort of the three lots of sort of, you know, the three types of things is so remasters, trash. I hate them. I genuinely hate them. I feel like it's a very lazy, low
Yeah,
effort way of trying to modernize and just cash in on something. Then you have remakes, which I'd rather have a remake over a remaster. You know, things
Yeah.
like, say, Resi 2.
yeah.
I'd say is more of a remake than it is a retelling, because yeah, there is new stuff, but it is Resi fucking
It's
2.
The
90%
know
of
what
ends,
I
the
mean?
original
the
game.
ends, the ends still
Yeah,
resolve the means,
Yeah.
don't they? Like,
yeah, yeah.
There's not enough to sway it from a remake to a retelling. There's
I
not enough
understand why
original
they
new
changed the
Yeah.
content.
story
So
for swiftness, or
Yeah.
just
and in,
to
you know, for the
just be
confines of
buffed.
Resi 2, that's all I needed. I
Yeah,
didn't need anything else.
oh, you're
You know
right.
what I
Right.
mean? I didn't really need the story particularly fucked with, because that's not why I'm playing Resi.
Yeah.
Because I'm playing it to be scared and shoot some fucking zombies. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? But then the retelling, the sort of, you know, that is my preferred way. Do something different with it.
Yeah.
Don't just, if you're going to modernize it, don't just do it in terms of presentation. Do it in terms of keep the theme,
Yeah.
just maybe expand on how you
Well, yeah,
explore it.
encompass the
You know,
original, but expand enough on it that it gives you a new take, and new, like,
yeah,
you come away from it with new thoughts, new feelings, new ideas about what you've just played, watched, etc.
yeah,
Well, like I said at the start, like, look, if the original source material exists, it doesn't affect what the new is.
uh,
You cannot play the new. Your source material didn't go away. It's not been wrote off. It's not like half the Star Wars fucking extended universe where Disney went, nope, not gonna get into that. Anyway, but like understand that, like, and the reason I'll bring this up is Final Fantasy VII. That game is still there. Like, it didn't change it. That game didn't get deleted because remake got made and rebirths come in and revelations will be at the end. Carry on, Rich.
Yeah, so here's a topic that, well, you've just brought Seven up. This is something we briefly touched on, and we definitely need to bring it back up. So, quit fucking remaking shit that was baller in the first place,
Yeah.
and maybe remake some stuff that was, had potential but didn't capitalize
Yeah.
for maybe production troubles or technological limitations. So
100%.
while we're going on about Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy VII was always going to be redone because it's the cash grab for Square Enix, you know what I mean?
100%.
Now, me personally, I'm a Final Fantasy IX lover. Like, that's my game, that's my fucking jam, that's my favorite Final Fantasy, and that didn't get the, never got the love. I would kind of prefer a remake of that to 7, just purely because I feel like there's more you can do with that. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Well,
To
like you
throw
say,
the...
dude.
Oh, go on. Yeah,
carry
go
on.
on. No. Go on. You finish your point first.
Just because me and Richard said this before, but I also want to put it into the bracket of films. There are a lot of good film ideas out there that got a poor reception because the film was made poorly. Stop trying to remake an Oscar film because it was an Oscar film. It already did it.
Yeah.
It already won it.
Right.
Yeah.
My point is going to completely like derail what you're saying for me, because there is a reason why in movies, games, we'll sit games aside, there is a reason they don't remake the films that did shit, because people will always hark back to the original and be like, that was shit. Why am I going to go and see the new one?
I see what you're
Yeah,
saying.
you do get
movies
franchise
is a
pain,
very, very difficult one to turn around and take something that was a pile of turd and like polish it up and turn it into gold.
However,
because people, this is just like, I'm just with movies. This is games is like different.
No.
but
I'm just gonna have. However, when you
that's fine. That's fine. I just feel like, say you take something that blew. That was terrible, and especially in the way that they do it now, whereas it's like they don't give it enough time for the dust to settle before they start throwing out the remake. So, like, if a film sucked in the 80s, right, enough time has passed now that you could say, boom, and but you got to nail.
No need for me to make my point because you've made it exactly for me.
But the problem is nowadays it's like the cycle is like 5 years. And 5 years, like, you haven't even gone past a generation of viewers in that point. Even in 10 years, you haven't gone past a generation of viewers.
You need at least to go past 1 or 2 generations.
You need
and then
time to let the dust
it was
settle.
Shit,
yeah,
but the story wasn't bad.
Yeah. And a way you can get a way that you can, I think we're now in because of the way we consume media, people know directors, people know actors, even like, but back in the days it was like, oh, I know who Tom Cruise is. Now it's like, I know Tom Cruise is plus his co-stars, and I know like the sick factor down on the list. So we have a much broader range of our knowledge of actors and directors is so much greater that a film could also, the film that was crap back in the day, if you attach the right director and the right cast to it, that could resell it. But if there hasn't been that time that's passed, the pain and anguish that people felt watching that pile of shit in the first place is still going to be there, and it's going to put them off. And you've already got yourself a negative reason to not go and watch this film.
I agree.
You get this like franchise taint. So it's something I've experienced quite a lot with particular comic book characters and various friends of ours. Characters that particularly spring to mind are Daredevil and Green Lantern. Like, I'm a huge Daredevil fan. I always have been. You know, he's got Pride of Place tattooed on my fucking forearm. I love the guy.
Daredevil's great.
Yeah, I've got a 30-year stretch, a literal 30-year stretch of comic runs, and it's like some of the best in the entire industry. And I spent like a decade trying to force feed specific friends, like, read this, trust me, you're in the mood for some sort of gritty grime drama. Yeah, Batman's great, but trust me, read this shit, it'll blow your mind. No. Why? Daredevil shit. No, you only think Daredevil is shit because you watched a crap Ben Affleck fucking Daredevil film.
And then maybe watched the Elektra film as well and just doubled down on how shit it was.
That
was crap.
Fuck that, TJ. Fuck that off.
Some people double down on shit, mate.
Yeah. So it was fucking. Admittedly, it was a terrible Daredevil film. Because it was a terrible film, you know what I mean? And I spent 10 years trying to make them watch it, and then the Netflix show comes out, and then they binge watch the Netflix show and they're like, "Wow, you got some fucking Daredevil," and I'm just like, "I've been telling you this for 10 years." Green Lantern was the same though, because Green Lantern, tragically enough, you know, you had the Ryan Reynolds film, which was a pile of dog shit. While that film was out, Green Lantern was going through a renaissance in the comic books and had a 10-year run that was just absolutely magic. And again, read this. Oh, Green Lantern shit. No, he's not. He's just that film was shit.
Ryan
Just read
Reynolds
Do you know
this.
the
film was
problem?
shit.
The problem
Yeah,
with Green
yeah.
Lantern is the fact that even if that film has gone past that point, which it hasn't yet, but the fact it gets brought up in every superhero
Yeah.
film that Ryan Reynolds is in, or as any joke that is made in a superhero film, it's aimed at that fucking film. That film can never be left to rest, can it? Like,
I will say that's Ryan Reynolds using his marketing.
Oh no, no. What I'm saying is,
Yeah,
I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but what I'm saying is,
It's keeping the franchise dead, isn't it?
It's
You know?
making it so
It
much
is.
harder to reboot
Yeah.
the Green Lantern
Lanterns.
because you can't escape the fact that it's
Yeah,
everywhere and it's regurgitated just how crap it was.
Yeah.
You know, and when you've got the main guy that was in it, was like, yeah, that was a pile of shit. You know,
Yeah.
It doesn't help that, like, let's face it, Ryan Reynolds is on top of the fucking world right now.
Ryan Reynolds has played the role he was always destined and deserved to play.
Ryan Reynolds could literally shit gold at the moment, doesn't he?
does.
Like,
Well,
everything the
literally, I
guy's
think he
doing.
is. He just sold his business for a bill, right? For a billy.
More of a bill.
Yeah,
he
or
had,
something
phone
ridiculous.
Got
company,
a
a phone
football
company.
team, you
Yeah,
know, and
I mean,
everyone loves him.
Rex
because
was
he's got
slaying it
Rex,
as well.
I mean,
Rex slaying it.
Blake Lively is his wife. That's all you need to say. The bloke could do fuck all else.
Blake Lively.
No,
He's like,
Winning.
Do you know,
He's
I've got to
winning
tell you,
everything.
the exact moment I fell in love with him as a human being was Blake Lively posted a picture of herself pregnant and he tweeted and just went, "I did that." And I'm just like, no way, you're the man. You're just the man. Oh, yeah, but yeah, it's Green Lantern's got a
enough
real
sucking off of Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah,
The Ryan Reynolds
it is
Appreciation
coming-
Podcast right here.
Yeah, it is coming back though, isn't it? Green Lantern. It's coming back on HBO
but it's going
as
to
a
be
TV
interesting
show.
to see how
Uphill
much.
struggle, man.
Yeah, I feel with that more than anything else, it could well be. But I like the fact that I feel that they might go a different. They're not going to go Hal Jordan, are they? They're going to go.
No, it's
No.
twin. It's got, from what I hear, you've got Hal and John Stewart.
Oh, John Stewart. That's the guy I was
which
thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm quite surprised because I thought you'd have just binned Hal off as a character forever. You know,
I think the way they see it is how I would see it, which is like, all right, if we can redeem Hal though,
Yeah.
we've got
and
more life in
if
the
they
tail.
do it, you know, if
Yeah.
they do it well,
And if they get,
will.
once again, you get the right cast. I mean, it has got the benefit of being a superhero film, and superhero films, unless you're Shazam
no, it's
or
a
Black
TV
Adam.
show. Lantern's going to be a show.
Oh no! But what I'm saying is, it's a superhero. It's part of the superhero
Yeah,
franchise.
yeah.
It's Marvel, isn't it? It's like
And everyone's
DC,
gonna watch
sorry.
Gun.
What I meant was it's like it has that pre-built audience. There are people that will watch it, whatever, because they love
It's DC,
Marvel,
innit? Yeah.
DC, anything superheroes. They'll consume it.
As we spoke about a couple of weeks back, like everyone's going to be watching Gun as well at the moment.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like, because people hate him, but you're going to fucking watch his shows because you want to shit on it and you want to go online later and you want to tell him what a wank stain he is because you
Lantern will
love.
be funny because people will watch it in the hope that it's shit as well.
Yeah.
You know, people
exactly
that will
what they'll
watch it
do.
in the hope that it's good, people that will watch it because
It
they don't know,
needs to
and
nail
people
the
that'll want
first
it to be
episode.
crap.
It has
Yeah.
to nail. The first episode has got to be balls to the wall.
Like,
That's how you land. That's how you land that puppy. And honestly, people can call me a Gun sympathist if you want, but like, I don't know, man. I got more faith in Gun than I did have in Schneider, and that's from day one. Before anyone gets on my dick about it, like I just like, dudes. Schneider,
I like the fact that he has a vision. I like the fact he has, and he has a long drawn out vision. It's not just like 5 films. It's a full on slate that he's got.
Yeah.
Let him at least get his bit out and then slate him. If
The
he's
problem is if the
absolutely-
if the first thing, like, people are gonna, I hope people don't attribute the Flash to him, but they may well do. They
will.
It will be the
he
Flash will
wants
come
them
out.
to have Flash the fucking tribute the Flash.
Not
film, so
if
that's
not
gonna
if
look
not
like
if
it's gonna slay.
yeah, but if it doesn't, if it doesn't, people are going to say, look, James Gunn, he authorised this.
Yeah.
He
You're
kind of
right.
did, but he had, other than that, nothing to do with it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but like, yeah. But if we go right, okay. So what, like, something you said about like gay, like remakes and stuff like that. Something like I would. Okay, so this might you guys might go completely against this, but I love this game so much that I would happily take a remake of this that just looks that looks modern and actually has modern controls, but could be the exact same game. I would still pay 40, 50 quid for it.
Remaster.
Yeah, remaster.
No,
yeah.
no.
Well, no, because it's got obviously not a remaster. Like the controls
rebuilt from the ground up.
Yeah, like what they've done with
like Demon Souls.
It needs modernized, like the story and how the game plays in terms of like the running of the game can be the same, but the controls modernized and the graphics modernized.
Right.
Like Resi 2.
Like Resi 2.
Resi 2 was like
yeah, there you go. And I would throw money at someone, and I am very much against paying £40, £50 for a game. I would buy this on release, and that's Metal Gear Solid. Because the game, for me, if I know it's been spoken about for a long time, if they re-release, I know they did Twin Snakes, but fucked in.
No.
This
year.
I've heard next year.
You may hear.
I've heard next year.
I've heard this year. You're going to hear the announcement of Metal Gear Solid 3 remaster.
I see. I want the first game.
I think we're going to get
so
the
that's
first
Snake
game.
Eater, right? The third one is Snake Eater, which is set back in...
You're going to get the first game depending on how
I can't remember the year.
3 sells.
But I want one.
60s, weren't it?
Because 3 Cell was one of the best selling, if I remember correctly.
Snake Eater is legitimately one of my favourite things that has ever existed.
It's the best James Bond game that was never a James Bond game.
Yeah. I love the original. I do have very fond memories of the Twin Snakes as well. Yeah. Very fond memories of it.
I would also love a remaster of the first one.
I would.
But I wouldn't expect. I wouldn't care if it was nothing but the original game, just with modern controls and, like I say, and better graphics. I would lap
yourself
that
a GameCube. Get yourself Twin Snakes.
No.
The problem I have with a new Metal Gear Solid these days is it's a dual problem really, because one, Kojima doesn't work at Konami anymore, so he can't be involved in. But two, I don't know if I want Kojima involved either, because like I feel like you have to have Kojima involved in anything that has the words Metal Gear in the title. But also, and this is something me and Jay have had a lot of discussions about this over the years. Like, so Kojima is a person I very much respect in the game industry. I don't necessarily agree with him because he has a very clear-cut idea on what he thinks narrative in video games should be.
Yeah.
I vehemently disagree with his assessment, and I think The Last of Us does narrative better than Metal Gear ever has done, because it does it through playing and context-sensitive stuff and subtle animations as you're playing, as opposed to 50-minute cutscenes.
Yeah.
If you want to direct a film, go direct a fucking film. And I just
That's what
feel
he wants to do, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I just feel as the years have gone by, Kojima's just got so stuck up his own fucking arse.
Yeah.
But, like, you look at like Metal Gear 5, man. Like, how often was his name flashed across the screen?
Mate,
like,
I saw that name every fucking episode at least 4 times.
Yeah, 100%. His name was just, made by Kojima, just in case you couldn't forget.
Written by Kojima. This mission was by Kojima.
I just feel that if he was involved in a Metal Gear remake, he'd try and do something ridiculously meta with it.
I'm just to back TJ a little bit here. If you're gonna remake Metal Gear Solid 1, just make it on the Metal Gear Solid 5 engine. Don't fuck around with it.
Yeah, his money, here's my credit card, man.
I would take that.
Just make it on the Metal Gear 5 engine. Rebuild the scenario and give me it again.
The story is amazing. It's great. Yep. It covers so many.
There's no need to push first story.
Just modernising it, like, and we said, don't do, it's just like money for old rope at this point. The original's out there. You shouldn't do it. But there are exceptions But this is for me personally. It
Well,
might not be for
mate,
everyone.
TJ, if it's a PlayStation 1 game,
Yeah.
right, and I know they got a
Yeah.
GameCube remake, I know that. If it's a PlayStation 1 game, like I say, with 7,
Yeah, it's
I
free
am
game,
all
man.
Yeah.
for it. I'm all for it.
Just don't do a
Don't
PS4
don't
game.
I
No.
don't need a PS4 game remade. I don't need a
Yeah.
PS3
Well, it's
game
exactly
remade.
what we said, didn't it? It's like the dust needs to settle. You need to get the new a new generation of consumer needs to come in. I mean, it's not a new generation of consumer. I'm the same fucking consumer. My daughter's not playing Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah. There's in much the same
Snake.
way, yeah. I feel that games are sort of the exception of the rules because I'm far more inclined to accept just a straight remake in a game as I am a retelling because I
Yeah.
feel that you do have that technological sort of barrier,
Look,
whereas
man.
you don't get that with a book. You know, a book written 300 years ago, you can still pick up and read. A
Yeah.
film watched on the 60s, you can just click on
Yep.
Netflix and play it. Whereas if I want to play the original Pac-Man on an Atari, you know, I've got to fuck around with emulators or something like that, or
Yeah.
go get my Atari down at the loft. But there's a game called Guy that was the guys who
Yeah, yeah.
created Dark Souls. It was an old school sort of game. It was on the original Xbox. And again, if you just completely redid the exact same game, but with today's fucking
Controls and
presentation
graphics.
standards and physics, here's my credit card. Take as much money as you feel is necessary and give it back to
Right,
me.
calm
And
down,
I'm
calm down,
perfectly happy
calm
to
down. I'm
pay
not that
that.
fucking rich. My name's
Yeah.
not Jay
No,
with
I would,
fucking
yeah.
spacecraft.
I
Jesus,
would,
it's
yeah.
like fucking Star Citizen over here.
Yeah.
Jesus
Calm down.
Christ.
Well, it's like I bought Demon Souls. I bought Demon Souls. You know, I bought a PS5. Like I wasn't planning on buying a PS5 at launch, and I bought one with Jay. In fact, we all bought one. Our entire group chat fucking bought one the day Sony announced them because we all watched the Sony
Yeah.
announcements in a fucking party chat, and we knew it was going to go live. So unlike everybody else who went to sleep and thought, "Oh, I'll get one in the morning," we were like,
Stay up.
"Maybe we should probably stay up and buy one now."
Yeah.
So our group chat spent about fucking $8,000 in one night between us. It was crazy, man. But the reason I did that was for a remake. It was for Demon Souls because Demon Souls is a game that I love dearly. There's a real you know, it was a battle to get Demon Souls out in the West because it was published in Japan. Sony were the original publishers of it, and they didn't want to know because it's a very Japanesey style game. It was very fucking difficult.
They said.
They thought no one would buy it. People in the West started seeing it crop up on Japanese gaming sites and YouTube videos, and we were all like, what's
that?
this?
I'm
Because
interested. What's this?
this looks pretty fucking good, and I want me some of this. What do you mean I can't get it?" And there was an online petition. It came over, you know, fucking hoo la la. It was great. So yeah, I was dying to play the remake of it, and I played it, and I loved it the entire time. But there was this very nagging suspicion in the back of my head that I'd just played like, you know, Dark Souls 3 to get myself prepared for it. And I was just very, very, while it looked better than Dark Souls 3 ever could do, I was very aware of every second that I was playing it that this is mechanically worse than Dark Souls 3 was because it's a 15-year-old game at this point.
I had that
know.
discussion with Rich, with another friend, one of our friends, Mark. I said, like, I love this game, but unfortunately, I'm playing a PlayStation 3 game.
Yeah.
Like, I've played this game in Dark Souls 3 where it's better and they've already implemented the controls better. So why they haven't put them in this game makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
Because I understand the whole point of the game is to be hard, but it's hard. So
Yeah. The game's rough as fuck.
Yeah.
Having a jump button isn't gonna make the game less
No.
fucking rough. However, it's gonna make my quality of life a lot fucking better. You know,
Exactly.
I'm gonna focus
100%.
on I'm gonna be focusing on the shit that's supposed to be hard as opposed to like navigational camera issues, control issues, you know. The only thing they changed is in the original Demon Souls you could only roll in 4 directions. You can roll forward, backwards, left and right. Whereas in this one they
Got
added
diagonals.
they added the 8-way directional rolling, which then really baffles me that you added one modern quality of life convenience, but completely ignored the rest of them. Like it's just like, come on, man. It just felt a bit like
It
it was
felt like
good.
the
It was
original
good, but
game
it
had
could have
just
been
had a
great.
paint to color on it, and it was
Yeah.
like, okay, so I'm just playing. Like, again, that was the other thing that I was a bit disappointed about. Now I'm happy to play a remaster of a game, but if you're asking for £70,
Well, there was shit. There was shit that
like,
was cut
give
from
me
the game.
something.
Yeah,
Give me something.
there was 3 areas fully cut from the game. Put one of them in. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? One was virtually finished because you can run around it if you fucking access the source code. You know what I mean? Just finish that shit up. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? If you're going to be spending time and effort and expecting me to pony over, not just at that point, it wasn't just the 70 quid. I had to buy a new system to
Yeah.
play that game.
Yeah.
You know, because it wasn't on the PS4. So fucking, I had to. That game effectively cost me what, £520.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, I don't think it's a stretch asking for a jump fucking button or for me to hold up for me to auto cycle through my items back to my Estus flask. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? Like
Like that's the
that's
quality of
what
life. That's not
Yeah.
affecting the game.
yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah.
quality of life.
Yeah,
You
so
know.
it very much like feels like they kind of ham-fisted that one, and it kind of it sort of soured me on the start of the console generation, if I'm honest. The fact that we're how many years in and it still hasn't had what I'd
Oh,
class as a killer app
what
is
what I told
beside
you
the
at the
point.
time, Rich. Exactly what I told you at the time, Rich. I said my problem is, mate. Like they're asking for too close to £100 for a game, but I'm
Yeah,
not getting set. I
mm.
don't feel, and don't get
they
me wrong, I don't
they
fucking make video games, but like I don't feel like I'm getting 70 quid worth of game out of it, being that I've been playing games since I was fucking 5
Yeah.
yeah
and I've had
they
more game.
they literally used my nostalgia and love for that franchise to you know fucking
Yep.
like it sort of weasel a sale out of me because up until that fucking conference I had
Yeah,
no intention of buying one at launch because I was just about to buy a fucking house. um and so I'm like now probably would be the best time because now's probably the only time I'm ever going to have this level of disposable income ever again. But on the flip side, I'm buying a fucking house. You know, there's better things to spend that
Yeah.
money on. And it was only because they showed the Demon Souls remake as available at launch. And then it was one of those, you know, blackout for 30 seconds, wake up with a credit card in one hand and
yeah,
thank you for your pre-order purchase on your phone in the other hand. You know what I
yeah,
mean? So I dropped £520 for that
Yeah.
remake. So I'm as much of a hypocrite, me fucking bemoaning them and you know dirty cash-ins and everything. I bought into it, you know,
yeah,
left,
yeah.
right, and centre,
I,
and
I sorry, go on. Sorry.
yeah, that's the problem. It's really, really easy to be sort of objective and stand on a high horse until when they're doing it with stuff that you've got no interest in.
That's it.
But when it's something that you're like genuinely, really, you know, you've got really fond memories of, like the Final Fantasy VII remake, and they released a trailer and it looks pretty good. It's like, yeah, it might go against all my principles, but that looks fucking baller.
Well, I
You
mean,
know?
TJ proved that earlier, didn't he? He said,
Yeah,
like, well, Jay, you're against fucking prequels, but what do you think of Rogue One?
yeah, 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 yeah,
I got a little anecdote of
yeah.
with like you talking about buying your PlayStation 5, like when I bought mine. So I was dead against it, not buying a PlayStation 5 at all. Like I was like, I don't play the PlayStation enough. Then a
Yeah.
couple of months leading into it, I start getting into playing DBD. One of my friends is a Twitch streamer. I start playing with him on stream, and they talk me into streaming. They're like, oh, I'm gonna buy a PS5 and I'll stream on the PS5. So I'm literally the PS5 launches at whatever time it was. I'm playing with them on their stream. My wife comes in. Oh, it's your thing. It's like, okay, cool. Get up on the phone. Smith's Toy Store. Got one. Brilliant. Pre-order. Boom. It's in my basket. Game's loading in. I'm just going to load into a game of DBD. It's in my basket. It's safe. Don't worry. Play my game of DBD. Come back. Yeah, it's no longer available.
Fuck yeah.
I'm
Well,
like,
that's what you get.
that's
Yeah,
what you
it's
get
what
for
you
playing
get.
fucking
That's
DVD.
what you
I should have
get,
known then
yeah.
to never play that fucking game. But no. So, and then like for the next couple of days, I was like, I went on, what's that fucking app that pings you when,
Oh, I heard about it. I don't know what it's
Yeah,
called. I
I
know
We,
can't,
we
Stock
didn't need it,
Informer.
did we,
It's
bro?
called.
We
It's
didn't
called
need
no,
I
no.
it.
bought it the night. Boom.
Yeah,
There,
bam.
done.
So Stock
Yeah.
Informer, right? It's like, yeah, Curry's are getting it. Yeah, that didn't fucking happen. In the end, I got a thread. Someone sent me a thread that Argos were getting some on whatever the Friday was. So on that Friday, they're getting some in
Evan.
stock. So I was like, right, okay, Argos, cool, right, okay. I mean, this is still pre-orders. This is still within the first week of them being
Yeah.
announced.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Argos are going to get some for pre-order. So, and it's going to go live at like, whatever it was, like midnight or something. So I'm cool. Didn't go live at midnight. 1 o'clock comes, nothing. 2 o'clock comes, nothing. I'm asleep on the lounge sofa. My laptop's open on the puffy next to me. I'm asleep. All of a sudden, it sounds like you know the horn you get on a ship. It goes, brrr. I'm like, I
Yeah.
fucking wake up in a startle. It's 4:45 in the morning. I'm like, what the fuck is that? It's my laptop going off at me, stock informer. That's the notification. Argos, I've got some in stock. So I'm like, fucking. But this is how great it was, right? I had an account with Argos, like, you know, like an online account. But it was set up at my old address. So where I'm like rushing at 4:45 to type it all in, it's like pre-order done. Boom. Look at me go. Go back to sleep. Wake up in the morning. I actually had the day off the next day. Took my daughter to school, and then it just dawned on me. I was like, how did I order that? Went back through. I was going to be delivered to my old address that I didn't live at anymore. I was like, I had to spend 3 hours the next day on the phone waiting for fucking Argos customer services to answer the damn phone so I could change the address, the delivery address.
Oh, wow.
I was like,
See, like, it's
ridiculous.
hilarious. I love listening to these stories
Oh.
because our entire group chat, just honest to goodness, the Sony conference ended and we all just pulled out our phones. I think Collie was like,
Yeah,
game of got some, and we all just went to game
Yeah.
and bought them. And then fucking, we all had them under our TVs at launch day.
That's,
and then
I mean, yeah, I got one like on day of release.
Man,
but
I
it was...
still worked in retail at the time, and I made a point of anybody that looked like they could be a gamer. I made a point of dropping in. Oh yeah, you know, I can't wait to go home and play the PS5.
It was so funny. I remember.
And they'd look at you like I'd discovered fucking fire.
Like
it was amazing.
you'd shot their mum in the face with a shotgun.
Yeah. You'd be like, oh yeah, you know, go home and play my PS5, and they'd be like,
You've
got one.
When I got it delivered, I took the day off work for when it got delivered. This is how sad I am, right? I took the day off work knowing it come delivery. When it come to get delivered, I like ran to the front door, opened it, and it come the packaging it came in was just a brown box with like no writing on or anything, just the label. And the bloke goes, "Oh yeah, I've been delivering loads of these today." So I was like, I thought I would have been delivering a load of PS5s, but I'm not. And I'm like, mate, that is a PS5. And it's like, oh, is it? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, I've got about 10 of them in my van. I'm like, keep your van locked at all times, mate. Because obviously they did it on purpose.
I'd be texting my kids and be like, yo, get one of these brown boxes out of his van. I'll keep him distracted, man.
I got no doubt if it was an every delivery driver, none of them PS5s would have made it.
Yeah, not for
or they'd be broken at least.
Yeah, but they've just hoofed them over the fucking fence.
Yeah, fuck you, prick.
Like Rich, I got a PS5 on launch. And then I remember everything about the Series X's as well. And then, like, when I decided I was going to buy a Series X because, well,
too much bloody money.
Right, yes, exactly. It's me, right? So, like, everyone's going, you can't get Series X's. I just went on Argos and went, one at the store down the road from me. Mine.
Yeah.
Phone away, and that was it.
Yeah.
Why is everyone all these issues? It's the same time when the 3090s out of stock. Remember, Rich? And I just posted in the group. I just got a 3090. I don't know what everyone's fucking drama is.
The funny thing is as well, while I was waiting in the time from when I ordered it to when the pre-order arrived, I bought a gaming PC in the exact same space of time while I was waiting. So when the PS5 arrived, I technically didn't actually have a use for it anymore.
Yeah, mate. I bought the PS5, I bought the Xbox, and then I bought my PC, and then my Xbox.
And then your wife left you because you spent too much fucking money.
Yeah,
she doesn't know.
You want to see how much money he spent on board games, bro? Don't worry about it.
My wife, I still to this day get deliveries, and my wife goes, "Did you buy this?" And I go, "Well,
I did about 4 years ago.
3 years ago, I bought a board game
that
I thought was going to be delivered in 1 year.
Yeah.
And now we're 2 years
COVID happens.
So technically, this money was already spent.
What do we think? What do we think are the gold standard in terms of remakes across all mediums? I think it's quite easy and clear to say that me and Jay think the Final Fantasy VII remake didn't, regardless of how you feel about the narrative changes, they did an exceptional job.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really fucking hard. I've got to think for a minute here.
Right, so what TJ has a little thinky poo. Obviously, if I'm going to go my opinions, I think the best remake of, just because we've done it recently, video game to TV has been obviously The Last of Us.
That's not a remake though, Jay.
Well, it's changed from a different it's a retelling. I mean, you know.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. He's moving something from one medium to another, technically. You know,
Well,
where does
let's
that
all agree
kind
that
of
the Resident Evil movies moved a little bit away from Resident Evil.
Yeah.
Well, they are a definite retelling because none of that shit
Yes.
happened in the games.
Exactly.
I think where a lot of adaptions go sort of too wrong is
Mhm.
too directly trying to adapt something from one medium to another. Because just because something works in a fucking comic book doesn't mean it's going to work on film. So I feel like the best examples of anything that's been transitioned has understood that, and they've altered things to to make it more accessible for the
Yeah.
new medium, if you will. So
Just
like sort of
understand
what I
what the
was talking
source
about
material
Watchmen.
was. Just understand what the source
Yeah.
material was, and understand that like this isn't the same, and you can't
Mm.
Well, this is
transition
why
them. But
Sorry. No, finish your thing before I.
I was going to say, like, that's why I think Last of Us did what it
Yeah.
did so well, because it was like, well, all right, there's certain points of that game where it could have been a TV show.
Yeah.
But there's also points of that game where you can't
You can't actually do
simulate.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't simulate Joel sitting there and working his way through a building while Ellie blindly walks in front of clickers 17 times and doesn't get killed. I'm not going to get into that, but I am sort of slightly getting into that. You know, so you can't do that. So what you've got to do is you've got to go, well, we've got to circumvent that, which means we've got to circumvent a lot of the fucking infected because it's not going to make any story
Yeah.
sense. They understood that. They understood what the problem was and where the story beats were. And it's sad that we lose things like the sewer, but you lose it because like how do you translate that? I mean, well, actually, we discussed it quite well into how you could translate
Yeah,
it.
you
Yeah.
could do it quite fucking well actually, but yeah, here's one because I've just been looking up actually in terms of film remakes and stuff because I can't actually think of that many. I mean, there's a lot of retellings. So Batman, for instance, you've
Yeah.
had various Batman iterations, which is an interesting. I
Yeah.
think that's a discussion in
Bond,
its own right. How like superheroes are basically our version of Greek myths and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But in terms of like in keeping with comic book films, something that's definitely a sort of remake / retelling and was considerably better than the original Dread.
yes,
There was obviously two
Yeah.
Dread films. You had
I'd
the
agree. Yeah.
Abomination with Sly Stallone, which we don't like to talk about, and then you
I
had
am the
the
law.
then you had the Carl Urban one, which more of that, please.
I
Yeah.
think visually as a spectacle, the whole like the way they filmed Dread, the Carl Urban Dread was just amazing. Like the slow mo when they take slow mo and he
Yeah.
fires through that room, blows the door. You see the rippling of the skin and
Yeah.
everything. The bullet flies through. It's just like it's so well done when you compare it to the. You said it right, Abomination that
Yeah.
was fucking like if to me it's they're looking at just like oh okay like Dread's this big hulking kind of guy like we need to get someone in there like oh let's capitalize on because at the time when that would have been out in the 90s you've got like there's a few Batman films already out and like
Yeah.
the Michael Keaton stuff and you're like okay let's pump we haven't got any stories so let's go and steal this comic book story, this kind of work, and it just fell flat. But it fell flat at a time where a lot of it fell flat. It's like we said, until Iron Man come out, which set like a new precedent, a new standard.
Yeah, set the bar.
A lot of what I kind of felt that a lot of what they also did, they tried to like Iron Man was a comic book movie, but was a movie in its own right, if that makes sense, in the way it was made. Whereas stuff like Dread is a comic book movie that's made like a comic.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that doesn't translate that well. I got one. I got one for you. You've probably never seen the original.
Yeah, having a look. Yeah.
The Fly.
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
Like The Fly with Jeff Goldblum is amazing.
Yes.
Like Brundlefly scared the pants off me when I was a kid when I watched that because I shouldn't have been watching it when I was a child.
Yeah, none of us should. We all watched that way too early, or our entire generation. We're not ready.
When he's
for
like,
that
pukes on the geezer and his skin's
The
melting
arm,
off, and you're like,
the
oh, he
arm,
snaps. And considering like how well Jeff Goldblum played him as well, like dorky kind of geezer, and then turns into like in the mid part of the film where he's like he's feeling himself, he's the fucking man, and then he turns into mutant person thing. And then fell flat with the sequel. I didn't mind the sequel, but never reached the heights.
No.
No, no. It
Yeah,
his
but that
son,
was
wasn't
that
it,
was
in
a
that one or
remake,
something?
wasn't
Yeah,
it?
well, the original's
original
like
was
black and white, like
Yeah.
back in the day.
So, while we're talking about remakes and retellings, obviously, Rich, this might be a little bit spoilers for you, but I'm pretty sure you couldn't give a furly fuck. Me and TJ watched a retelling, we'd say, TJ?
What, Piranha?
Winnie the Pooh.
Oh, sorry. Oh, hang on. I just need to like, oh, mate.
That's a retelling when you think about it.
It's
It's doing something different with the character, isn't it?
Yeah,
What is
it's
it? Blood and Honey.
Blood and Honey. It's fucking piss and shit is what it is.
It really is. That's what it is. Mate. Like, Rich, I have seen some shit films in my time. I've sat with Stu in that flat and I watched some
class. Yeah.
I don't think I have ever seen a film as bad as the one that I witnessed the other night after TJ's stream. So I watched it and I was like,
I watched it before I streamed. Fucking.
well, TJ said to me, he goes, Jay, within 15 minutes, I don't know.
I was like, have you watched this yet?
Yeah.
I watched it, and there were points when I'm going, oh no, I get it. This is parody. This is parody. So this will be at least funny at some point.
No.
First death? No, just crap. Okay, all right, no joke. And you got through like the rest of it, and you're going, okay. So apart from the bad acting, which is kind of comical, is there a story or?
From what little I've heard, I 100% would not have sat through that.
Let me set your scene for the
No,
first.
I know
This
you
is
wouldn't, mate.
this is the first death down to a fucking T is so ludicrous, right? Woman pulls up at 100 Acre Woods, gets out of her car on the phone. Don't know where I am. Then out of fucking nowhere, she's in the middle of the woods. How she's gone from the edge of the woods to the middle of the woods, we don't know. She turns around and there's this fucking weirdo fat geezer wearing a Winnie the Pooh mask, and you're like,
that's what Winnie the Pooh is, by the way. It's a dude.
And do you know what?
With
right?
a mask.
If you watch enough TikTok, you'll see this all the time. You know where people press record and there's that half a second before they actually start? What they should have done is been going in motion and someone records as they're in motion. That's exactly how she starts running.
Yeah.
So it freezes for half a second, then she's like, oh, and like starts running. You're like, what happened?
Yeah.
It's like someone shouted action after they had already started rolling.
Yeah.
Then he catches up with her and her shirt just magically falls off to show the breasticles, which are like,
you know how it goes.
Yeah, good. Yeah.
And it's just like how she dies is insignificant because the bullshit's just already fucking happened at that point.
He pushed her through that mincer, doesn't
He pushed her through a fucking
20 minutes of her going, no,
and
and then he goes, oh, I could probably just
smash
knock
her face
her out
in.
and then
and then you just see her legs sticking out the back of the fucking mincer going like,
mate, like literally he has smashed her face.
It's a wood
to
chipper.
Mush,
It's a wood chipper is what he puts her in.
Halfway through her, and somehow those legs are still going, oh shit, no, we can get out of this.
But it was just the whole, and that's literally the point where I messaged you saying, have you watched this yet? Because I watched that and I was just like,
I don't know if I can do this.
I really like the problem was we said the way that we've got to do the mystery movie theatre was the fact that we would have to, like, we can't watch it for the first time while we're recording our reaction to it because there will be so many dead spots. We're supposed to be talking about the film, but there'll be so many dead spots because we don't know the plot. So we have to watch it first. Yeah. And I was like, I've got to watch this again in 2 days. Are you shitting me? I don't know if I could do it to myself. Like, it was so bad.
Like, I had a Rich moment. I was like, no, I haven't got enough life force to do this again.
Yeah. I can't do it, man. I can't do it.
Rich, there was a point where I assumed the filmmaker went, oh yeah, we've got 4 blokes against a fat bloke in a Winnie the Pooh mask.
They tried to do their version of Halloween Kills, Michael Myers getting attacked by the mob. They decided to do their own version of that.
So 4 blokes, an Aussie from in England somewhere.
We think, we ain't got to know where the fuck it was.
A Brummie showed up at some point, and then a posh London bloke were surrounding this one Winnie the Pooh, dude.
It was Englishman, Irishman, Scotsman walk into a pub.
Yeah. It's
there was
like
a scene.
joke, innit?
There was a scene where, like, don't get me wrong, when you're looking at the scene originally, they're all more or less the same height, right, TJ?
Yeah.
And then
Grown men.
it cuts to another scene where Winnie the Pooh is suddenly 40 foot tall.
Yeah.
And everyone else is just a minuscule thing. His hand is an axe somehow. Because, like, some bloke puts his hand out and he just goes,
It's
and that chops
the
his hand
ultimate
off.
judo chop. It's the ultimate
I'm like-
Austin Powers judo chop.
and then
Like,
he can
being hit
control
by a 40
bees.
foot hand,
And I'm like,
yeah.
what is going on?
The bee.
Right, no. Do you know the funny thing, right? With the bees, so you occasionally see bees, just like, but at no point ever in the program have we understood that he can control bees
No.
until it becomes a plot device to kill someone, and that is the
Yeah,
only, like, and you're just like, when was that explained that he could do that?
Yeah.
Like, Piglet gets, like, fucking... Piglet is the weakest fucker in the world. Like, at one point, he's mauling a woman with his tusks. And then the next point, someone was just hid behind a barrel. I mean, fuck me, it could have been DBD. She's like, all right, I got this. I got this any second.
Waiting for the stun.
He's going to turn his back. He's not going to hear me walking up behind him with a sledgehammer that I'm holding. And then one chop. Suddenly, he's in chains. And, dude, honestly, when that woman's in chains, who the fuck was that woman?
We just find a new character that we know nothing about, but she knows the law. She starts explaining to these people the history. And we're like,
Right,
what the fuck are you?
Yeah.
The film starts and says, oh, Piglet and Winnie the Pooh have formed back to their original animal state and will never speak.
Because Kristen Robin
there's a
fucked off to go to
woman-
uni.
Right? And then there's a woman going, oh, they speak occasionally. And I'm like, well, hold on.
Didn't
they-
you just tell me? Not only would I have not watched it, I've kind of had enough hearing about
Right,
it.
I just
now
need to go one more point. One more point.
Yeah.
This is fucking how ludicrous it is. Okay, so they're in this house in fucking wherever, Shropshire, could be wherever, I don't fucking care. They've got an indoor swimming pool, but it's one of them long, narrow swimming pools. Okay. Piglet, 2 girls. One of these girls is like is on the floor. She's out cold, unconscious, right? This other girl jumps in the swimming pool. Okay, Piglet gets in with a fucking sledgehammer. Now, I'm like, okay, Piglet's a fucking quite hefty character. I'm quite a young, slight woman. I could probably swim pretty well. I'll just swim to the other end, get out and run away. No. I will tread water, waiting for Piglet to come up to me. And never will I once attempt to leave the swimming pool and just let him smack me in the face with a sledgehammer.
Mate,
it made
he's
no
not even lying.
fucking sense.
That's exactly how it occurs.
It's literally, you know, like when... Austin Powers in that scene where the geezer's coming towards him with the roller, and it's like, and it's like going to take 4 days to get to him. It's literally what it felt like watching that. It was like love,
TJ,
get out of the fucking swimming pool.
DJ, you watch him for about 5 minutes swinging the sledgehammer into the water for no reason,
and then connects.
Until the point where he needs to connect, and he's like, "Oh yeah, if I went this way and round, and didn't just hit the water, I'd probably."
So what we're saying is
not worthy of watching.
You watch it, Rich. Watch it, and best Oscar nomination coming its way for sure.
Mate, it's got to get a Razzie. It's got to get all the Razzies. Like,
mate, it's got to get minus on fucking Rotten. Hang on. What the fuck is it on Rotten Tomatoes? Hang on.
Mate, I like it's one of them where I've seen bad films, but not only is this a bad film, it doesn't even make bad film sense.
Yeah,
it's just nonsense now. What? What?
Whatever. I don't. Yeah, fuck off. Let me continue to the fucking site, you sons of bitches. How has it got that? Okay, so it's got a tomato meter, which is the critics, right? Of 4%. That's too much.
Sense.
No, it's too much.
It's high.
Too much.
Okay. Sorry, I won't lie.
Audience score 50%. How?
Yeah, it sounds about right.
What the fuck are you crazy people watching?
Right. All that confirms,
morons.
All that confirms is if you're listening to this podcast, you must have some level of degree of an understanding of a decent and a bad film, even if me and TJ watch terrible films and laugh about them. To go on to Rotten Tomatoes and vote this film anything less than how does it exist? And I'm talking 0. And I literally did a podcast with these two motherfuckers right here saying there should never be a 0, but this film actually gets a 0.
Yep.
Oh, here we go. First top critic review made on a shoestring budget, and it shows.
Yeah.
Weird.
Mate, someone must have given them £2.50
Well,
and
it's
said, I will cover the
fucking
cost of a mask.
Winnie the Pooh went into the public domain, didn't it?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
you
that was
can
that
do
was the
whatever
thing.
the hell you want with the franchise now.
I was describing this to somebody else. I said, well, how did it get made? I said, it's quite simple. It was going to make money because everyone's curiosity is going to make them want
Yeah,
to see
okay,
Well, it got
you both watched
1.6
it.
million at the box
killing
office.
people.
Yeah.
1.6
both
million.
watched
Curiosity
Okay.
gets the barrier.
I mean, that's
Even
not
though
that
it's
many people gone to see it.
terrible.
Yeah.
You know, it will get a sequel and it will do nothing.
I fucking hope it
Yeah.
don't. Better
It
not.
will though. It
I'll
will.
probably
though.
get about 5.
It will though. It's
The,
going
the
to get
last
a
one will be
sequel.
Do you know
Pornhub
what they also
exclusive.
didn't do, Jay? They didn't do, right? It's implied, but they don't explain it. So they explain like they eat eel.
Yeah.
They fuck they're like
Where
they
were the
run out of
others?
food. They eat eel. But where's fucking Tigger, Owl, and Roo? They never
Rabbit.
Yeah.
Rabbit. That's it. Sorry. They don't say, but we're kind of just led to believe they might have munched on them as well. I don't know.
Well, I was watching like 'cause they try and show things in the background, don't they? So like you saw eels,
Not gravestones
graves.
or something. I see, you see
Yeah,
eels,
I
but
was
don't
like-
see any. Don't see like mass graves.
Well, that was where I was looking for in the background. I was like, well, what happened to
Where's the
Rabbit?
rest of
And then
them?
I was trying to work out if the lady that was hooked up, I was like, well, is that meant to be Rabbit?
no, because
No,
she
it
was
wasn't.
full human.
Yeah.
Because
So
when
I
she saw
was like-
when she saw her face, she was like, "What has he done to me?"
Yeah.
Because she
Because
was mangled.
You felt him attack your face, didn't you? I
Yeah.
assume.
You were there, yeah? You were there.
Oh.
You were present.
Oh, mate, honestly, when she fired that hand cannon to nothing, and then the inevitable
And it only had one bullet.
click,
Fuck.
I was like, you deserve this. You deserve everything that happens to you.
Bearing in mind,
Yeah.
bearing in mind that that this is set in the UK, not we're not
Yeah.
like laden with guns like for the mass
Mate.
populace. And
Stu,
we-
sorry, Rich, so you know, it was basically the cult python that
Oh,
they
really?
pulled out of
Yeah.
nowhere.
and literally, yeah, and the story is based around like four girls, four just like
Yeah.
college students, maybe just going into their first job, and she's like, oh, by the way, I've got a gun. Fucking pulls out this whopping great cannon. She's like, just carry this around me for shits and giggles. Where'd you get it
Yeah,
from?
just dropped an episode, Jay.
Oh, good man.
Yeah,
Oh, thank you.
there you go.
No, but
But like, yeah, like Rich, they must have been page 3 girls.
Yeah.
I assume, right, TJ?
why are you asking me as if I look at page 3 all the time? What the
You
fuck?
work in
You
the
do, don't
trade.
you?
I don't work in the fuck you.
But right, Rich, there's a point.
Why are we still going on
because
about
it's
this?
so insanity.
I don't care.
All right, okay.
He's driving a BMW at one point. Let me just point that
Where did he
out.
learn to drive? Where did he learn? Right, anyway. Right, okay. Let's pull this back. Right, we did mention something before. We're pretty. We got any final thoughts on the?
No. I think we've covered everything that we wanted.
Because
to
I just
cover
wanted
and
to,
more.
for like, just a 10-minute thing, because we spoke about it before thing when we said we'd hold off of it for here. Obviously,
Yes.
the Bafta Game Awards, it kind of fits into our purview. The Bafta Game Awards.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to discuss over one thing, because one of us has played this game, the rest haven't, and the game that won Best Game, I don't understand how it won Best Game. So the game that won Best Game was Vampire Survivors, which is, it's free on Game Pass. It's £4, I think, on Steam. It's pretty much, it's a top-down, how would you describe it, Jake, as you've played it?
Essentially, it is what it is. Like all it is, it's like
Isn't it like a roguelike wave shooter?
Yes,
sort of thing,
auto
if you will?
fire. Yeah, it's an auto fire.
yeah.
It's the reverse of a wave shooter though, where like you're kicking out the waves, and all you've got to do is move your character in order to not die, and then the
Yeah.
waves get greater and greater as you get more and more powerful, to the point where you're just devastating rooms in attacks, and you feel great about yourself because flashy things.
But it's the same. But
Yeah.
as Jay said, he had to stop it up because he was nearly having seizures after an hour
Yeah,
of playing it because it's
like-
just so right. Okay, so
Like, there's
no
just so
real
many things
storyline.
going on.
There's no real
No.
fucking storyline. It's just the same thing, repetitive over and over and over and over again. It just procedurally gets harder because more people come in. Okay, so that one best game. The games that were in the running were Cult of the Lamb. I haven't played Elden Ring, God of War, Ragnarok, Marvel Snap, and Stray. Okay, now I'll be the first to admit I've only played Stray. I've completed Stray. Fucking amazing game, visually, the storyline,
awesome.
everything, absolutely amazing. Elden Ring.
What was the category, by the way? Sorry, what was it
This
called?
is
Best game.
Best game. Okay,
Right.
best game. Bafta
Right, that's-
Gaming Awards.
Right,
Best
that's
game
a high
of
bar.
the year. This was my point. This is my point. If it had been like best indie title, okay, but when you're going up against a juggernaut that is Elden Ring, that has, as I said, the creativity, the depth, the graphics, like just the whole thing. Like people have said, it's not a perfect game. Well, some people can say it's a perfect game. I don't believe in the perfect scale of a game. But anyway,
Yeah.
like how can you compare a £4 basement indie game that is literally rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat of an auto fire wave shooter, essentially top down, to a game like Elden Ring or a game like Stray or the storyline of God of War?
Accessibility.
That shouldn't be the
No,
benchmark for what
accessibility.
makes the best game.
I'm arguing on the point of logic from someone who goes no shit
not-
about
not-
That's
games.
not even logic, though, is it?
No,
'Cause
no, but not
accessibility.
You take that out there. If you just look purely something you said with Elden Ring really kind of like hammered home for me why something like Vampire Survivor would win. So you'd have like Elden Ring obviously has this depth and complexity and giant world and all this, that, and the other.
There is a load of lore in Vampire Survivors.
Yeah,
by the
yeah.
way.
Mechanically though, is it mechanically perfect? No,
The
it's probably not. So
Elden Ring or
really,
Survivors, sorry, mate.
like Elden Ring. So I'm thinking this is something like Dead Cells. So I'm relating this to something I've been playing a lot recently. Like Dead people are like, oh, you know, why are you playing that when you've got all these other things? Because this nails the core
Exactly what it's
fundamental
trying to do.
mechanics
Exactly what it's trying
on
to
a
do.
level that most modern games don't. You know, in terms of like it's not buggy, it's not glitchy, there's no lag, everything feels incredibly smooth. There's a very clear cut weight and momentum to everything, you know, within 30 seconds of playing it, you're instantly aware of all the nuances of the control. It's almost like Mario. Do you know what I mean? Like Mario just feels like I don't give a fuck if you like Crash Bandicoot better than Mario. Mario is a better controlled character, feels nicer to control than Crash Bandicoot does. You know, and I feel that Vampire Survivor is such a sort of simple idea, but nails
Exactly what it's
its
trying to do.
mechanics to
Yeah.
absolute perfection. Like as good as God of War was in terms of story, that story could have been in a book. That story didn't necessarily have to come from a video game medium. Do you know what I mean? Because like the actual video gamey parts of it weren't the memorable part of the game.
No.
Whereas for Vampire Survivor, the video game part is the part of the game that you remember.
It's the only part of the game that you give a shit about is the video game
Do you
part.
see what I mean? Like,
I can't. I'm sorry. There's you could wax lyrical, Jay, for forever. I can't get behind it. I can't get
core
behind
mechanic versus like well-made mechanic versus production values.
Yeah.
To me,
It's
which
not
one's
just
more
production
important?
value though, is it? It's everything that epitomizes it in terms of. Okay, so I've played Stray, right?
Yeah.
Story, visuals, gameplay, everything that you want, that I want. It had a box ticked. Vampire Survivors would never do that for me. Vampire Survivors is a game that brings. It's okay, fair enough. It's a pick up, put down game. Yeah, Vampire Survivors. And it might have longevity, it might not. But there's also going to be, I feel, another Vampire Survivors in 2 weeks being released, 4 weeks being released.
There's like 8 already on the on the phone.
Stray. Like other than like a blatant like. I don't like and like Elder. I think they stand alone They
I know
can
you're
stand on
saying.
their own
I
two
know
feet,
you're saying.
and that's what I don't feel you can say something's
I
the
get your
best
point, but-
game in a Game Awards when it's so rudimentally basic that it could have been on the PS1 and
Well-
literally looks like it's worse than it was on the PS1.
But that's kind of its point.
Yeah,
like,
no, I get. I'm
God of
maybe
War
talking too
is-
much about the visuals, forgetting
God
the
of War is
like
a
there's.
narrative.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Sorry to
Yeah, no, it's cool.
interject. Tetris.
Yes.
Tetris
exactly.
is the
Right.
perfect example for this.
Yeah.
Tetris could come out at the same time as, say, the Final Fantasy VII remake. I'd
Yeah.
still give best game to Tetris.
I wouldn't.
Yeah.
So I
And
wouldn't.
Tetris would win.
I wouldn't.
Yeah,
Tetris would win
Tetris would
Metroid
win
as well.
because
Shouldn't do.
mechanically, no, but it should.
It
Though, it
should.
should because
It's a
from
game.
a mechanical
It's a
perspective,
game.
Yeah, it's a game, but you're
From-
only
from
looking at
eight-
one thing. Okay, so if Elden Ring didn't have any glitches or bugs, then it would win, is what you're saying. But that's not what.
No,
No,
that's not what I'm
at all.
saying. That's not
Yeah.
what I'm saying. What I'm saying is when you get too technical, you get away from the fundamental of the game. Now, all Vampire Survivors does is make you feel good about running around killing things, which is exactly what a game was ever designed to do.
Yeah,
I
this is the problem. Is we've all got conditioned into thinking that games are supposed to be these grand sweeping
I'm not saying.
narratives.
See, that's the thing.
Whereas-
I'm not saying it's a bad game, but what I'm saying is, like, you were.
No, I
Okay,
know
no,
you're
here
not
we go.
saying
Here we go. I'm
No,
going to
no,
fight
I
your
know
own
exactly
argument
what
with
you're
your own
saying.
argument here
Yeah.
because you said the other day that, like, when we were talking about perfect tens and everything, that you need to bring things in, like, things matter in games. There is so much more in Stray, God of War, Elden Ring, even Cult of the Lamb. That has got to matter more than the simplicities that are in
But-
Vampire Survivor.
But
But
you're taking away from what the award is.
Best
award is for the
game of
best
the year.
yeah,
Game,
and
best
you look at the
game.
metrics.
But it's not, because you've got to
You look at
encompass
the
everything.
No, because we've got our own. We've
look-
got our own award ceremonies. So for the Baftas, it is not about narrative. It's not about RPG. It's not about action. It's not about controls. It's not about any of that. It's about the best game.
And you look at like, say you played Stray. You probably played Stray once. Yeah,
Twice.
twice. Okay. Now you look at
I
the
have
time.
played Vampire Survivors 50 times.
Different
Yeah,
type,
exactly.
different type of
So-
game. It's a
Yeah,
different
but
type of
It's a
game,
game,
though.
but
Exactly,
it's
but that's the
about
point.
game.
That's the point.
Yeah, but I've
That's
also, yeah, but
also the
I
point.
could turn around and say that I've got, like, you've got more hours in Elden Ring than you have in Vampire Survivors, and I
But
bet
that's
you
the
will
nature
have
of
more
Elden Ring.
hours in Elden Ring than you will have in Vampire Survivors by the
But-
time you stop playing both games.
But I wouldn't have restarted and started the same game more times.
Yeah. There's a lure
Because
there
it's
to
a
keep you
rinse and
coming
repeat.
back.
Because of the style of game it is, you can't turn around and use that argument and say, well, because this
I
guy's
can,
style of
I
game is a
can,
rinse and repeat.
Because the most
That's why I've played
impressive
it.
and
No,
biggest
you're
selling
arguing.
game in the world is
Yeah, but if it
Tetris.
was a
Yeah, but Tetris
And
has
if
been
it was-
like, you
no,
can't
but
bring
if
that
it
into
was-
it because Tetris is a game from the 80s. So
Yeah,
of course
Tetris
it's
is a game.
No, the point
Yeah, no,
is
no,
that
no,
in
no, yeah, but
practice,
Tetris
rinse
still-
and repeat game. No one would rinse and repeat it. It's
Yeah.
not. It's mechanically sound, and there's something there that is drawing millions and millions of people
Yeah.
back to something that, like you say, is existing in a time where you have these grand experiences, but people are still choosing to spend their time on this game, on this £4 phone game.
Yeah.
You know, that speaks volumes.
People
know.
are the people that drive those votes, not
Yeah.
not how much money they spend, what the narrative is, how
In much the
impressive
same
the
way.
voice acting is. It's about where are people playing games.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
shit.
in much the
Fortnite
same
is
way.
the most impressive game in the world. I hate the game,
Yeah.
but I can't deny it's the most
In much
impressive
the
game in
same
the
way,
world.
Regardless of what else released in that year, the year Brain Training came out on the DS, that won best game, and
Yeah.
it should do because more people played that and
Yeah,
played that.
but brain training,
consecutively
but
than
brain
anything
training,
else.
brain training is a genre-defining game. Because as you
Why
just
use-
said,
why-
there
why
was
use-
nothing
yeah,
else.
yeah,
There was
but
nothing else
Vampire
like it.
Survivors-
No.
Yeah,
There is
but
100
before
games like Vampire Survivors.
There's not before Vampire Survivors.
So
Not before Vampire
Vampire
Survivors.
Survivors is a genre. I can't
Yes.
look online and find a game exactly
for
the
it.
same as Vampire
for
Survivors.
it.
Is that
You
what you're
can
saying?
now.
You can
Well,
now.
okay, now.
Go for
Are
it
you sa-
beforehand.
Right, you're
Go
saying
for it,
you're saying
Tom.
Vampire Survivors is a genre-defining game. I call
Yeah, it
Vampire
doesn't
bullshit.
Survivors. Vampire
No,
Survivors
but-
is the
but it
first
doesn't need
game
to be-
that
it
said
needs to be the
you
one that
can
got
be
big.
the mercenary in the middle with no attack and move around, kill everybody, and you will increase. It's the first game to
Mate,
do
I
that.
can tell you it's bullshit because there's a mobile game called Top War that not Top War that does exactly the same thing.
No, No,
Yes.
there
Yeah,
isn't.
but it doesn't necessarily matter because Among Us wasn't the first game to introduce that
No,
sort
but
of
what I'm
social
saying, yeah, but what I'm saying is
construct
brain
thing. It was the
training is
first one to get big. You know,
I can say brain training has its own merits, whereas I don't feel that Vampire Survivor has its own merits coming up against. Like, I don't
Yeah,
feel
but-
it stands on its own 2 feet against the games that it went up against.
But it
Yeah,
got in the category. How did it get in the category?
Because fucking idiots picked it.
yeah.
So who picked
No,
it?
see,
Who picked it?
The same idiots picked the other games in that category.
Like the thing.
Yeah,
the thing is,
but
like,
they obviously had a brain fart when they were they accidentally meant to pick
No.
something else beginning with V and picked Vampire
No,
Survivors.
dude. They all picked, like, the people who picked those games picked Vampire Survivors.
I just can't
and
get
then
behind
picked
it for
Vampire
Game of the Year.
Dude,
Right,
that's
I
fine,
stand by.
that's
Okay,
fine.
I understand the game. It doesn't mean I don't like the game. I've watched you play the game.
No.
I won't play the game because it's not my type of game.
No,
But I
exactly.
can see why you enjoy it. I can see why people enjoy it, and I can understand at £4 why it's going to sell a fucking bundle, right? Because it's a fun pick me up, put down game. Ultimately, like a mobile game should be, but it's PC and everything. I can't. I just can't, like, for
'Cause it
best
hits-
game
it
to turn
only
around and
hit-
say best game of the year is that.
well, what's your most important metric for best game? Because
Yeah,
It's not just one metric.
No,
No,
but
it's a
what
combined-
story
no,
though
but what is
doesn't
it?
come into it. Story doesn't come into it because it has nothing to do with the game itself.
Well, of course it does, because the story.
No, it doesn't.
No,
Of
no,
course
no.
it
It's
does.
narrative. It's narrative. It's not
No,
about
it's
the
because
game.
you can
The
have
game
games
is what you
without
play.
stories, and they're still amazing games. So story, like, you don't need a story. Is not something you actually have to have for a video game. It's
No.
not a necessary requirement. Like, it isn't.
No, it's not
because every
unnecessary.
game we
Okay,
play,
I get. I get that. Right, okay, I get that.
It's not a necessary. So regardless
But
of
if
like,
there is
that
a
thing,
story,
take that out there.
but then, but then that's turning around and saying, okay, what do video games graphically? Okay, let's if there's you can't take story, but you can let's take everything else graphically. Vampire Survivors is a piece of fucking dog shit from the 1980s compared to something like Elden Ring or God of War Ragnarok.
Correct. But does the graphics make the game?
Yeah, does the graphics impact how the game controls, or your
No,
ability?
but you can't. No, but now you're changing the goalposts because you said
I'm
I'm putting
saying-
metrics
I'm
in
saying
place,
game-
and then every metric I put in place, you're going to come down to
Yeah,
one
because-
metric, and that's the only metric that it should be.
Because it's about the game.
But that's wrong. Because
How
then.
a game plays is the single most important metric in any video
Well,
game.
no, it's not because it's not because you wouldn't sell games. If you only had a game that run off of one metric one way and the game it played and that was it, you would never fucking sell games because you need story.
Sold shit tons of money with one metric.
Yeah,
So
but
all
if
it
every
does-
game,
all
you're
you
not
do-
listening. You're not
because the
listening.
game
You're not
that
listening.
about
You are not
invalidates
listening.
your
You're
metric.
not listening. You are not listening. It has one metric, so for that game, yes, it suits. But if every game only had that one metric, you wouldn't sell fucking games. If Elden Ring only had the one metric, Vampire Survivors, if God of War Ragnarok, if all the games only had that one metric behind it, you wouldn't sell fucking games. The difference is games are different. You have a choice. You have games that have different stories, different, gameplay aspects to them, different graphics. That's what makes games different. If you want to tar every game with one metric that Vampire Survivors and said it's because they nailed this one metric and that's the only thing, well then it's a bullshit argument.
I don't give a shit how good your story. No, I'm.
No,
chill.
this is
I don't
fine.
give
This
a
is
shit.
fine.
Yeah, I don't
No,
give a
no,
shit
okay, just-
how
just-
good your story is in your video game, because if your game is abject shit to play, I am
True.
not experiencing your story.
But
so all the other
we're not
metrics
saying that.
are
We are not
important.
saying that.
Can I finish my sentence?
Yeah,
I'll let you. Can I finish mine?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah,
So
yeah.
all I'm simply saying, other metrics are important, but they all fold back into that simple one, because Vampire Survivors has just proved it. You don't need a grand story. You don't need an orchestral score, because this game has just sold a shit ton of copies. Has made
Because it's
absolute
£4.
bank
If the game
with
was
none of
40
those
quid, would it
things.
sell? No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, but it wasn't 40 quid.
all right,
It wasn't
hold
40
on.
quid.
That's
on.
no,
Didn't
but
have-
that comes into it. Because you couldn't, that comes into it. How many people can you're saying it sold shit tons because it was £4.
But then you're
That's
comparing
why.
something that spent £70, and obviously the amount of money you spend has the
No,
amount of
I'm
time and effort
arguing.
involved.
No,
into it.
no, I'm arguing the reason
guys.
it's sold. I'm arguing the
Guys.
reason it's sold so many is because it's £4. You can throw
Yeah.
£4 away. That's why.
Guys.
I don't think you can. Hang on a minute, Jay. I need to make this point. You
I'd love to
can't,
get a fucking sentence out.
mate. You're doing exactly the fucking same thing.
Guys, it's right. Let me stop you now. Right, and I don't want to have to do this, but it's getting a little out of hand. Okay? So calm down. We're talking about a video game.
I know, I'm chill.
I know, but everyone's shouting over each other and it's not cool. So let me step in just for a second. Okay? Everybody calm down. Right? It's fine. The argument is that, just to clear it up for everybody listening, right? It's not about the cost of the video game. It's not about how many sales were sold. We're talking about the Baftas, which is a group of people that choose what they see as the most best game, not narrative, not graphics, because we have our own awards for those things. So what they're taking, what their analytics is, what are people playing for the length of time over what are people playing. The thing that we get with God of War and all those big, impressive narrative games where people spend £70 to play through an entire 30 to 40 hour narrative is they play it once, twice, gone away. The reason that Tetris is one of the most played games ever is because you go back to it anytime you want, just like you do with DBD, just like me and Rich do with Apex. You can't add those into the narrative simply because they're not new this year. So what they're looking at is not the game that is the most impressive. They're looking at the game that people are playing the most. So let's keep the idea that we're talking about the Baftas here. We're not talking about the Game Awards. We shouldn't be arguing about what sold the most and why it.
No, that all factors in, though.
It does.
It does.
But we're not talking about those people.
But
We're
what
talking
you
about
just
the
said,
BAFTAs.
what you just said there, Jay, they're looking at the game that gets played the most. But when a game is £4, it makes a difference. I'm not saying. Hang on. No, I just wanted to say. I get why it's £4 and why Elden Ring is £70, right? But you said about accessibility. Not everyone has £70, but that doesn't mean the game shouldn't be reviewed on its merits. Forget the price of it. If you're just looking at hardcore numbers, of course a game that's £4 is going to sell more. Of course it is. That's logic, because people will throw away £4.
But TJ, that's my point. That's my point.
So then it can't be judged as the best game. You can't judge any game as best game.
No. What like the point is that you didn't understand why it was being judged as the BAFTA's best game. Now, this is what I'm trying to explain is it's a group of people that probably never play video games.
Well, I don't know.
Exactly. So that's my point is that we're screaming at each other over the fact that the BAFTAs, which is really a nothing award in the video game world. So to get upset about
I'm not
Vampire. No, I'm not saying like I'm just talking as a grand. I'm just saying so for people to get upset about Vampire.
No one's upset.
No one's upset. We're grown adults here. We can have it might get heated, but
I love you both. Can I just literally get this sentence out and then you can go against me? But I just want to get this sentence
Go on then.
out.
Yeah, go.
Right. It's like for people to just get upset about Vampire Survivors, which is probably, I don't know for certain, voted on by a board of directors that only look at analytics. So they're not taking into consideration the cost of a game versus accessibility versus whatever. They just look at this game is played for 40 hours per day by 50 million people, opposed to God of War, which is not only restricted by its device that it can be played on, and everything, and Elden Ring, which is also restricted by which device it can play on. One of the most popular consoles in the world is the Switch. You can't play Elden Ring on the Switch. You can play fucking Vampire Survivors. What I'm saying is you've got to look, because this is what your point was. Your point was, how did the BAFTAs, how did Vampire Survivors win the BAFTAs?
That wasn't actually the point I was getting at, but go ahead.
Yeah. So my point being is, like, it's popular because it's popular. It's popular because all they have to do is hold a stick in the middle, move themselves around, and the game will play itself. Games that are popular and are played for longer are the ones that have the least attention. Pokemon is an incredible game, but it's very simple for people to pick up and play. It's very good to get deep into, which is what makes it an incredible game. Correct, Rich?
Mm-hmm.
So the problem with God of War is, as my point being, is you play it once, you've had the story, you don't really do anything else with it. So it doesn't become a great game in your mind, because there's millions of games that make me play a story. I play once and then I forget the story. The point I'm trying to make is a good game is a game that makes me come back and play it again, even though there is no story, there's no reason, no rhyme. The reason you play DBD is because it's the feeling that it gives you. It's a game. It's you against others. In Vampire Survivor, it's me versus waves and waves of enemies that make me feel good every time that I win. God of War never makes you feel good. The whole story is fucking bleak.
Depressive. No, it's the point with God of War. The point I was simply trying to make is that, like, the game isn't the point of God of War. The story is.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Whereas, like, it's sort of, there's something to be said about a very distilled, stripped down experience that deals with all the stuff and kind of shows that a lot of that isn't necessary to have an engaging and compelling game that keeps people playing. So why retro games are still so massive, you know?
Right.
Because the problem is the bigger the game gets and the more overwhelming it gets. And in a world where there's like 50 games coming out every day, I am going to let you talk in a minute, TJ. Sorry, bro.
That's all right. That's all right.
I just I just think that we all forget what a game actually is, which is like we enjoy a narrative
Pong,
experience and the fun of
you know, Pong is
yeah,
the game.
like we forget that like the game is being able to feel good about succeeding against a greater adversary. That's why Pong was good. You were against somebody, and if you could beat him, you felt good. That's why Tetris is good, because if you can get loads and loads of lines before you fill the screen, you feel good. It's the endorphins that you get off. Now, God of War only gives you endorphins on boss fights, really, because all you're doing is, I'm beating a boss, I finally beat him. Elden Ring is a better example simply because it gives you great endorphins every time that you progress.
Discover somewhere. There's a lot of, you know, a lot of joy to exploration. My thing is, like, it's quite similar to how indie games have got so big, and I think it's because I think the bigger and more complex a game gets, I think the mechanically worse they all tend to be. So Elden Ring is mechanically the best sort of feeling any Soulsborne game that has sort of existed, but does it feel as tight as Dead Cells does? Like, no, it absolutely doesn't. I think the more you strip away the game, the tighter it is as a game, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
TJ, sorry, give
Yeah.
us
No,
all your
what I was
points
going
now.
to say,
Sorry,
right,
mate, I'm
so
done.
I like we kind of got off because like I'm not even like the BAFTAs was the catalyst, right? But I'm not
Right.
talking about it as the BAFTAs. I'm just talking about in general for it to win a best game, it shouldn't be there. I forget award ceremonies. I should have made that clear, right?
Yeah.
It's not the best game of the year. It's not the best for me. Not, and it
Yeah.
can't even be construed in the category of all the games. Like these people, like for whoever voted on this, what's really thingy here is the Viewers' Choice Award, EE
Fine.
Game of the Year, which is voted for by gamers, us. it's not even in the running. It didn't even make. That was Elden Ring, God of War, Forbidden West, Horizon, Immortality, Marvel Snap, and Stray. God of War Ragnarok won it. So voted for by gamers, it doesn't even make it in there. Right? My argument
very
here,
universal.
my argument was
Yeah.
that I don't was just the fact that the voted for by fans should be the benchmark, right? Because it's voted for by the people that play it, but it's not obviously. Game of the Year is done by the people who run the Baftas, so that's the administration, or not the administration, the committee, let's say, who, like I say, might never ever played a game. I don't know if they've got a different gaming committee to TV and film committee.
This is all speculation.
And I don't, and if they have looked at that and said, and it's won it because of the numbers it's done, that does come down to the fact it's a £4 game. I'm sorry, it does, because it's more people can buy it. More people can buy it than can afford Elden Ring, let's say, right? But anyway,
you can't deny that because of its accessibility as a £4 game, and it only really requires one control.
Yeah.
It allows lots of people to play a game.
I'm not saying. I've never said it didn't. Like I say, I've not played the game. I see the game has its merits and everything.
Yeah.
I just don't feel that you can put a game like Vampire Survivors as Game of the Year. Like, forget what organisation does it to put it there. And I would say that I was just looking through the rule book for accessory entry process and all that. Like, for the fans to have not even put it there put it in the final, 6 games, speaks volumes. And the fact that God of War 1 kind of like proves my point a little bit.
All I will say in terms of the fan voting thing is, if that's the case, then you have to ignore every list pretty much that's ever won at any award show, because especially comic books, stuff like this happens very frequently.
I don't,
so I don't think you can use that as a judge on whether it. I don't see how you could say it doesn't deserve to be there because of almost a personal bias, because it's like mechanically, I don't know, I've not played it, but mechanically it does everything that it sets out to do incredibly well, and I don't think you can ask any more of a game than that. Because it's not, you're saying you're competing with like God of War or something, but it's not trying to be a blockbuster. It's trying to do something very simple and keep its players engaged on a very continuous basis, which it sounds like it's achieved very, very well. So just by simply nailing its target aims, I think it has every right to almost be there.
It does, you know? But what I'm saying, like, I look at it like, you could say, you look at, like, you're right, any award ceremony, you look at the Oscars, there's always a political reason, let's say, behind it. There could potentially be political reason behind the BAFTA, like, you know,
let me put this into the mix.
Who made
let
the
me
game?
Put this into the mix about Vampire Survivors. The law master is Stephanie Jim Sterling. So that's
okay. So there probably is some.
And Jim Sterling is very well known within the gaming community.
So that is an unfortunate thing to hear, because that probably does waylay some very political. Because I could argue, like, I could literally die on that hill, even in terms of the fact that I've not played the game. I could die on that hill in terms of it sort of has, whether it deserves to win or not is sort of irrelevant, but it certainly deserves to be in the running. Not so much if it's done it due to make a political thing, but then that's conjecture. So I can't really comment.
It's the thing with all like awards and anything like that. It's like, we don't get to see behind the curtain. And that was my kind of thing. I probably should have made it clear that I wasn't aiming this at like why BAFTA gave it. It was just in general, I don't feel that is Game of the Year. I don't understand. I get it, and I get in the pantheon of great games this year, it can stand on its own 2 feet in that regard.
Yeah.
But when we're talking best game, I for myself can't see it. You know, I can't overlook, and I'm talking, like I say, I've only played Stray on that list, and I loved Stray. I think Stray is a phenomenal game. Like, everything about it is
really
great.
Need to play that. I really need to play that.
and like I said, I've played the first God of War. I haven't played the second one. I haven't played Elden Ring. It's not my type of game. I haven't played any of the Dark Souls or anything like that. But just in seeing and listening to how people have waxed lyrical about the game, like it's, you know, I don't see that same connection from people that, with Vampire Survivors.
See, I would argue in terms of say I can't talk about Vampire Survivor because I genuinely haven't played it.
I've only seen Jay play it.
Yeah, I'm playing a lot of Dead Cells at the
Yeah.
moment, and in terms of like as an experience, Elden Ring, this is something I've talked about quite frequently with Jay. Like I'll pick Bioshock for an example. Bioshock is an undoubtedly, you know, it's a well-revered game. Everybody fucking rightly talks about it.
Incredible narrative.
Yeah, but I actually think as a game, I actually think it's shit
Trash.
because the actual game mechanic part of it, so the forget the story and the setting, which is all absolutely incredible. The act of me playing BioShock isn't very enjoyable. It's
Right.
not a well-controlled game. The
Has never
shooting's
been.
crap. And people will go, it's not a traditional shooter. It's not, you know, it's a very story-driven experience. However, the way you interact with the environment and the main thing you do in the game is via shooting, and it's crap. You know, so from a mechanical perspective, it is a bad game. However, I still recommend it to people, but I sort of cravat it and say it's an incredible experience.
Yeah.
Like, I think you can have games that are absolutely flawless games, but as games maybe aren't the best. So if we're going to talk about like The Last of Us, this is probably really going to ruffle some feathers here. So like the Last of Us is, you know, widely regarded, gets all the praise for its setting, its storytelling. But in terms of like the gameplay, the actual gameplay, it doesn't do anything particularly special or that hasn't been done by other games, and in some cases hasn't been done quite better by other games, you know. But it's one of those cases where, because gaming's a funny medium, because when it started it was purely based on the gameplay mechanics. How does a game feel? How does it control? What's the challenge? Whereas now you have all these extraneous other things. So you have a good story, a good setting, a good plot, good acting can actually pull up something that is, as a game, fairly mediocre.
Yeah.
If you get what I mean.
I
So
think
I'd
that
argue
was the
Elden
point.
Ring's a better experience than say Dead Cells, but I'd say Dead Cells is a mechanically better game because it's tighter and it does everything without any issue.
Don't forget that, like, during the Baftas as well, God of War also won sort of 5 other awards.
Performer in a leading role. It won for Christopher Judge. What else did it bring? Music.
Best game design went to Vampire Survivors, though. Which again,
Yeah,
like, I can't argue.
Game
I
design.
can't argue that to a certain degree. Like, if you're going to look at something at its basest point, its game design is addictive. It's
well,
colourful.
it's technically flawless, but I don't think that one does feel a little egregious because.
But
like,
both best game and that egregious, because like gets in on the technicality of like it is a game, it is flawless.
yeah.
I can't argue
again, I guess it does everything it's designed to do. So again,
Exactly.
yeah, I guess can't really fuck with it.
I think it comes down to, once, like everything, it's a your personal preference. Like, I would much rather play a Last of Us than I would a Tetris.
Yes.
You know,
But I you.
I'll put it this way.
I'd like a good narrative, but
I am
if
all
I'm
about
bored
the
for
story.
5 minutes,
I mean,
and I can bring Tetris up.
my favorite, So I sit. Sorry for graphicness. I sit on the toilet. I play Candy Crush.
Yeah.
Rudimentary. You could say it's a perfect game.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. It's a perfect game. But I don't. I would never put it anywhere near anything. If, like you said, like greatest games you've ever played, well, it's perfect, but it's nowhere near.
My point being is that
no, that's what I'm just not. No, what I'm saying is because because of my preference. This is what. Oh, right, Jay, that's just disturbing. Because of my preference, like my preference will always be like my favorite. What the games I enjoy playing so much are like The Quarry, Until Dawn. You know, completely story-based narrative games. You know,
But that also makes you biased.
Metal Gear
though.
Solid. Oh yeah, 100%. But we're all biased in a certain,
Yeah, of course, of course.
degree.
But then I will completely counter that with the fact that you played DVD on stream constantly. In much the same way that I say I much prefer single player.
But the
Unlike
game's
you,
not
I would much rather
perfect.
take.
The game's not
Oh,
perfect.
no, it's
I
not what he's
like the
saying. He's not
challenge
what he's saying.
aspect.
Yeah, yeah.
The reason I play DVD is because it's a challenge aspect, me against other people.
Exactly.
That's.
But yeah, like I was gonna say in terms of like much like yourself, I've always been I narrative is the big thing that's always drawn me to video games, just because of the simple fact that game can tell it in a way that no other medium can. It's fascinating, especially looking where it's gone and where it is. You know, it's amazing to see. So I say this, so I would say, yeah, I would much rather take The Last of Us over some little indie game. But then you look at my in-game clocks, and I guarantee you, I've spent 3 times the time on Dead Cells than I have on The Last of Us.
See,
because I played it through once. And then I got that has impacted me more. And I will, if you talk about gaming and stuff like that, yeah, that is a game that touched my mind, touched my soul, you know, touched me very deeply as a human being. But in terms of just simply purely and better be, you know,
Sorry.
like, the
Are
Dead
you
Cells
talking
was
about
one
You're talking about Dead Cells or last?
Yeah,
Sorry, I
yeah,
got
Dead,
Cool,
like
carry on.
no, The Last of Us, yeah, you know, it
Yeah,
touched
you're
my
talking about
soul.
Last
It
of
Oh
Us.
touched my
right, yeah, that's what.
character,
I'm sorry,
it
I got
it did
confused which one you were.
everything.
Yeah, cool.
And
Okay,
in
yeah.
10 years' time, that'll be the game I'm telling you. But right now, I have played 3 times more Dead
Yeah.
Cells than I have The Last of Us, and I will continue playing Dead Cells, whereas I probably won't play The Last of Us again. You know, so
I will just caveat the DVD thing. I only
Yeah.
play DVD on stream because
oh, okay,
like I
Yeah.
don't play
Community
DVD.
thing.
I don't play
Yeah.
because I have this thing with stream. Like it's the perfect game for me for streaming for the community. Like
Yeah.
it's what got me into streaming. I have a real difficulty playing a single player game. I get immersed in the game, and I'm
Yeah,
really
yeah.
bad at ignoring my community.
No,
So
I
it fit. Like I enjoy DVD, but I don't play it off stream. The only times I play,
Yeah.
if I didn't stream again, I would. If I stopped streaming tomorrow, I'd play DVD off stream. But I get what I need from the game while streaming. It serves 2 purposes. Whereas I play my solo stuff off stream for the most part because I feel it's the same as like Deceive Inc. Deceive Inc. for me is a perfect game to stream. Games are 20 minutes, they're quick, they're done. I can communicate. There's pauses in between the games, the lobbies you go and sit in and stuff for 5 minutes. And it's like I can't do that because of the way I I lose myself in a game. So it's to the detriment of my stream, you know.
I have 2 very distinct I want a game mindsets, and one of which is sometimes I want the exactly what we're talking about with things like God of War with Elden Ring. I want the grand epic sort of adventure, you know, where it's where I get something from it. You know, it's like film. I won't watch shit films because they don't have a point to make. I only watch film if they're trying to say something. You know, I want the games to make a point. I want the story to make a point. Or you know, the environmental storytelling something. But then I have my other half where I just want my Dead Cells, I want my Vampire Survivor. I just want something for the dopamine rush. I just want something that I don't want to have to deal with that bullshit. I just want something that's a control stick and maybe 3 buttons, and it's how far can you go? You know, the only challenge is like, can
Trying
I
to beat your previous?
my last sort of high
I get
score.
that. I get that.
There's
So,
something in
yeah.
there's something in games that it's distilled from the start, from Space Invaders, from Pong, where seeing your high score go higher is just a rush.
See, I think that's. Sorry, go on, Rich.
I was just going to say there's something to do. I think the difference is like one's like you're being told something, and the other's almost like self-betterment.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like continuous improvement. Like
Which is
this
what a
is hard,
game
I'll conquer it.
sort of
You know,
is.
it's like problem sort of. You know, it just reminds me of my old days. You know, as I say, I like sat there with my shit joystick with 1 button, just like before you had sort of all this stuff. Because I do think sometimes we do get a bit carried away, and you know we do judge games too much. Well, you know, the game itself was fucking like Bayonetta is like one of my favorite examples ever. And a common criticism is like, well, the story's abject garbage. Yeah, I'll agree with you there. It doesn't matter. It's still a 10 out of 10 game because it doesn't fucking matter. You know what I mean? The part where I'm actually fucking playing it is fucking sensational. You know, so yeah, all right. The 30 seconds that I can skip with a cutscene with a load of waffle that I don't care about, I don't care because the actual part of it where I'm playing it is so damn good. So I think sometimes things like a good story, good production values, good music can elevate a poor game, or not even a poor game, but a mechanically like Star Wars. Star Wars is the perfect example. You know the last Star Wars game.
He didn't
Is that
play it, but the Jedi Fallen Order.
Yeah,
Fallen
I
Order.
have it and I want to play it.
So everyone goes ape shit about it. Now, to me personally, like
Careful, Rich, you
objectively,
tread on my dreams, Richard.
yeah, very objectively, it's a very to me, it's a very average game. It's like it does a load of stuff that does other games do way fucking better, you know. But everyone raved about it because it was the first non-shit single-player Star Wars game in a very fucking long time. So I think you have this license that elevated a sort of, you know, it's not a bad game by any stretch, but if you skin that game in any other fucking skin, you just make it another sci-fi
It's
universe.
got-
Isn't Star Wars, and it's a 6 out of 10 game.
It's got that
you know.
fandom behind it, hasn't it? That we were
Exactly.
talking
Yeah,
about
yeah.
earlier.
Whereas
That want
because
it to
it's
be good, so they'll overlook certain aspects of
yeah,
mediocrity.
Yeah,
exactly that. So yeah, gaming's such a fascinating medium because amazing story and stuff can pull up a mediocre game. But then also I feel that like rock solid, amazing gameplay mechanics can like
make no nonsense.
compensate for a shit. Because look at Mario. You know, Mario games have like no story or pretty much anything, but yet they're one of the biggest selling games ever because just the actual aspect, because I think we do sometimes get lost in the aspect of playing the game.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes we get too distracted by all the other extraneous fluff, and it's
There's-
just does your game. It's why COD sells more than Battlefield, because COD feels nicer to play than Battlefield.
Yeah.
Just end of
Battlefield's the
story.
better game, but
Yeah.
ultimately COD's the better
Feels
game.
nicer.
See, I'm very much like what you were saying there about like beating your top score and everything. It's never like going back to like Candy Crush. It's there as a means to entertain me if I've got no signal on my phone to look at Google, right? But like Tetris doesn't interest me. Tetris, like like the world's greatest game in the world, doesn't interest me.
Basically.
I find it like tiresome after a short. I would find like I would pick up Vampire Survivors, play it for 20 minutes, then maybe a few days later, like it wouldn't ever engage me enough to like. I'm not one of these people that look at my high score and like I've got to emulate and beat that. Like, I'm not an achievement hunter in games. If I've completed the game, I don't go right now. I need to do like the Batman games, right? All the Joker, the Joker,
The Riddler stuff.
The Riddler stuff. Sorry, that was it. Riddler. I couldn't care less about going and finding like the little Riddler statues around like the map and everything. I couldn't care less. I'm not looking to get 100%. I think I may have 100% in maybe 2 games in the whole entirety of games that I've ever played.
I'm not an achievement hunter. I'm not an achievement hunter either, TJ. So
only if it's something I'm interested in. So the Riddler things I did because I wanted to know.
Yeah, I got what I needed to from the game, from the main story, and that's mostly how I play. I play games for the main story, depending on what type of side missions are involved in the game. If they're just side missions that actually enhance the story, cool, I'll do them. If they're just there for filler, I can't be asked to play them. You know,
that's fair. I mean,
I'm about the story is what captivates me in gaming. Like, you know,
just to quickly encapsulate everything we're saying, like, guys, play your game how you want to play.
Yeah, 100%.
Right.
It's the beauty of the industry is there's something for everybody.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, like, you should never. I don't think anyone, and I'm not just talking to you two. I'm talking to everybody. Like, you should never feel bad about how you play your game. Just like
or what you play.
Like again, like we talked about cheating. Remember, we talked about cheating the other weeks. Now, if you can't play a game, you're terrible, and you have to play cheats, and that's what gives you the joy. Then I'm not against cheating.
Crack on. Just don't come into my game and be a prick about it.
Yeah, that was the thing in solo player games. Like, do what you want. It's your experience. You've paid the money. You thingy. But just don't mess. Don't mess with other people's experiences.
Yeah. Exactly, because like we've always said the same thing here, which is like, look. Everyone's like definition of fun is different. Like I like putting a
It's-
popsicle. No, I'm not going.
It's been a fascinating. It's been an absolutely fascinating discussion, man. 'Cause my internal monologue's going crazy because, like, obviously when we're discussing a TJ, I'm thinking like, I don't know what constitutes a game to me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I think that's a very,
That
very
was
important
that
question.
was the
and
thing. I just looked at Vampire Survivors and I was just like, I
Yeah.
can't compute. And it isn't that it's £4. It's because I've seen the game. If I had never seen the game, it's like a Vampire Survivors one. Oh, cool. Never know, don't know what that game is. But the fact I've
TJ,
seen
for one,
you
if
play
you've
it,
never seen a
Yeah.
game, you've only got to ask me and go.
yeah.
"Have you
Well,
played this?"
I
go,
saw
"Yeah,
you play
probably."
it, and I was like, oh, okay, right, yeah, cool. It is what it is. It serves that purpose. To me, it would serve the same purpose that
TJ, you witnessed
Candy
it almost
Crush.
put me to sleep.
Yeah,
I was like,
here you go. He's having he's literally like his eyes were like crossing over like this, and it was like
Yeah.
seizure induced. I even said to you, I even said to Jay, like, I've had to put the phone down. I'm writing messages, but I've had to put the phone down because I can't watch the game anymore. It's doing my eyes in. Like, it's just it's too frantic, frenetic, too much going on. It's like in the eyes.
Yeah.
And that's probably another reason why I'm like, how can it be game of the year? It's probably like killed half the
Because
population
everyone's
of people that played
brainwashed,
it.
mate.
They're all like fucking, they're all like
It's like the
dribbling.
Pokemon episode with the Porygon in, man. He just killed half
Yeah,
the
they're
people
all
on the
just,
page.
they're just.
That's it, yeah.
No, I am.
Halloween
I'm
3,
I'm
but with fucking
literally-
video
yeah,
games.
I am going through like honestly like my sort of my preferences in games and stuff like that, and sort of seeing the common things. And it's I am very much like almost a score attack kind of person. Like,
Yeah.
as much as I wax lyrical about narrative and rare this that, you look at the sort of things I play.
Mhm.
You know, things like Devil May Cry, things like Bayonetta and stuff like that.
Even
I'm
Sekiro
very
to a certain degree, dude. Like, you're
yeah.
all about, like,
I've
oh, I need to be able to kill quick.
yeah, I'm very much into the sort of high skill gap and sort of self
Yeah.
betterment. So yeah,
Whereas
it's
mine is
kind of
story.
yeah. But again, that's the sort of fascinating. It's the thing. It's one of the things I always say about I love anime as a whole,
Yeah.
is because there's just so much of it. There is something for fucking everybody. It's like we don't agree on, like you play games that I hate, I play
Yeah.
games that you fucking hate, and vice versa with Jay. But it doesn't fucking matter, does it? Because it's
No,
like
it's
that
that
doesn't
personal
impact my
preference.
enjoyment of my game.
Exactly. No, exactly. I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because like we were talking earlier about like films and stuff, and like I have a much more wider scope of being able to tolerate and enjoy like films, that medium, even if like to what people would like. I didn't enjoy Blood and Honey. That's just fucking dog shit. But I can, like I say,
It's his
I
favourite
can,
film.
end up
Don't
loving
the
that.
bullshit.
No, I'd
I can,
probably end up
Bullshit.
loving it.
I can compartmentalize the film from what, like, from like I can just take it as what it is. Like, I like cheesy shit, so I can think. But where a game is concerned, it's like, no, it has to hit certain points. So and I say like story-based games. Yes, I do play. Like, I like the competitive side of, say, like a FIFA or a COD, like Apex. I enjoy playing Apex, but it's more of a competitive thing. It's never to like. I don't care necessarily about my kills and stuff. I'd like to kill people in Apex. Like, I can't, because I'm fucking shit. I can't aim for fucking
we
shit.
all like to kill people.
Yeah, that's the
But
dream.
it's more like I like, and the other thing about like Apex is it's like I can't play DBD Survivor as solo queue because I can't do it. It bores me to tears. I hate it. I have to have other people that I can riff off of, and I'm chatting with people on Discord while doing it. Killer's completely different. Killer, you get in a different mindset because I'm like, it's me against them. I like that aspect. Of those games, and like we're in a FIFA when you're trying to get one up on someone else, I like that kind of aspect of those games, and story-based games, that like the achievement hunting, the high score, the breaking the skill barriers and everything. I'm like, it's a means to an end in a game if it's needed, but it's like, I don't like. I'm not a massive fan of skill trees in certain games, like Icarus has got a major, it's an open world like survival game. It's a massive skill tree in it. And I'm like, oh, I can't be asked to play this game for 100 hours before I can even unlock to up here. Like those kind of games kind of annoy me a little bit. It's why Sons of the Forest, I love Sons of the Forest, because you've pretty much got everything at your disposal. Like, the gameplay mechanic is there from day one. You can do everything. You just need the tools to do everything. But there's not like, I need to get up to a certain level to be able to cut down a certain tree. I could technically probably go and win the game with a fucking spear.
Yeah, I see what I
Do you know what I mean? I don't need.
I love stuff like that, but
Mm.
conversely in different sorts of
See,
games.
with
So
your like Monster
you
Hunter,
know,
how you were explaining it to me the other day about like building up and building up and building up, so you've got this uber ream kind of character.
yeah,
I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool. It sounds thingy," but I would get when you said like you might have to kill the same monster 10 times to get what you need. I'm like, oh yeah, I can't do it.
Yeah.
I can't invest the time in doing
And he
that.
dared judge me for using infinite ammo in fucking Resident
I
Evil.
was joking.
Yeah.
You've completed the game, so it makes no difference, right?
I am like probably one of the most fucking stubborn gamers you'll ever meet. Like, there's no the words too difficult like aren't in my jail. Tell you, man.
It's not
like,
necessarily difficult. It's more like the repetitiveness.
Rich loves it
yeah.
though. Rich will play a level until he gets double, triple
Yeah.
S on
Which
Devil
is
May
cool.
Cry.
It
I can't do it. I don't do it. Rich knows me.
Oh,
I'll play a game once and I go,
But
dude,
like
finish.
that
I've got
that
no
sort
time.
of that sort of like so Jay, like I tend to play like a small amount of games a lot.
Yeah.
Do you know, as opposed to I think a vast majority of people these days play like a vast large quantity of games, don't they? Whereas
Like me and TJ just buy games and then
I've
think
I've got
about
a load of
playing them
games
and
that I
then
never
don't.
played. It's ridiculous.
I've
Just
kind of
don't.
peaked my games, and it's just like I'm just gonna get as good as humanly possible at these, if you will. You know.
Like, dude, like that's sort of the like that's the crux of this conversation. We're gonna have to come to a close soon.
It's daylight.
Yeah. Man,
Right.
I work nights, man. This is no thing for me
Yeah,
anymore.
but someone's gonna be up tomorrow to do things in the house.
Yeah, so have
He
I.
does.
I've got to
I ain't got to be up. The wife and daughter are out tomorrow morning, so happy
Motherfuckers.
days.
Nice.
So, the point I think we're trying to encompass is that like no one like you don't all have the same thing, and it's what's crazy about bringing it back to remakes is that like
Oh
we
yeah,
can love a
I forgot we put that
remaster, we can love a remaster, you can love a remake, you can love a retelling. Like no one should tell you what's right or wrong, but our point, or at least my point about remakes is that I prefer a retelling because I already have the game. That game already exists within a world and I enjoyed it. And I'd rather have it told differently and I don't know, repackaged and resold to me, I suppose.
I
Karen.
very much agree with you that people should enjoy everything that the way they want to enjoy it. However, if you are a lot of the people that just buy shameless remasters, you are part of the fucking problem. Stop it. Don't
Fair.
do it.
It's fair.
Yeah.
I will try to stop, Rich. I will try.
I just want to point out as well. So, for a little bit of background, before we ever started doing this is for the listeners. We spoke about how me and Rich were combative people who may well disagree on quite a lot of things, and this was the whole premise. It's exactly what I'm getting. Like we were kind of like, oh, this is, and we would jibe back and forward in Jay's Twitch channel about like, oh, I'm fucking coming for you. Like it's actually taken 8 episodes, but it was a doozy.
Yeah,
it was a doozy.
I had a whale of a time, man.
But we love each other, really, people.
Yeah,
we do. Like guys, I only stopped him because I was like he's gonna get it.
Fucking teacher Jay over there, headmaster Jay.
Yeah. Did you like the fucking chilled, like passive aggressive, borderline condescending tone? Like
yes, Jay.
I can control everybody.
Yeah.
A secret weapon.
I was just sitting there and I'm like, it's working because now me and TJ are both just mad at Jay instead of mad at each other.
Jay's like, fuck, where's the volume button? Because Katie's probably going to hear him through my headphones. They're so fucking aggressive.
Unfortunately, Kate would have got the brunt end of that, which was like, should have come out and gone, Kate, you need to fuck off.
However, we
ran the microphone to Kate and said, sort these 2 pricks out, will you, Katie?
I wouldn't do that to you. I wouldn't do that to you.
Yeah, we're all fairly heated and impassioned people, but then on the flip side, we're all adult enough to realise we're having a conversation about some shit that doesn't fucking matter. So it's like,
subscribe, but don't
Like,
comment
subscribe, and
in
we'll do this every
about whether
week.
they killed each
Yeah,
other.
every week, man. You really want to stick we'll do a topic on DBD, and me and like Jay will just let the pair of us
Mate,
go.
at
and
the
we'll-
I'm gonna
moment,
take the
at this
week off.
moment in
I'm just gonna
time,
put
I'm
it off and
agreeing
go,
with
I'm
you,
out.
Rich. I'm agreeing. I
yeah.
had to take a step aside. They're doing a mid-chapter update on Wednesday. I took one look at Twitter and was like, I ain't going anywhere near that fucking game. It released on Wednesday. I ain't going anywhere near because I know people are going to be on the PTB, then come off of the PTB, go onto the lives, and it's just going to be a shit show. So I played something completely different on Wednesday. I stayed well fucking clear. It's
Deceiving, kid.
it's in a bad way at the moment.
Oh man.
Yeah. So
Apex ain't great at the minute, is it?
No.
do you know what's amazing
Apex
is
is doing
I
my
foreshadowed
own
this and I said that DBD, like at the last release, we had a chat on one of the streams about like your update and my update, and you guys were like,
Yeah.
you were waxing lyrical, going, "This is really good. They've listened to us. They're giving us this."
Yeah,
A couple of weeks
it's-
down the line, I said
No.
like, and you're saying it's shit. I said DBD was shit back then. I'm still saying it's shit now.
Yeah, it just hasn't changed.
No.
Apex
TJ,
lured us in
like-
with fucking 3 wins on the first
Exactly.
night.
Which is right. Like,
Yeah.
like Apex went like, I get these cunts back.
No, and it did, man. All the new characters, like the buffs, the characters
Yeah.
felt great. Like those games, the audio felt fucking awesome, and then the matchmaking was really good, and we were like, yeah, we're in. And then the next day, it was like the game had rolled back before the season update had come, and it was just like Sweatfest all over again.
Jeez, honestly, I forget. The problem is Apex is a good game, but there's other players in that game, and then they ruin it for me. So
I always go on.
I was just going to say, one thing I have to give credit where credit's due. Apex is the only, or I don't even know, it was in your Discord on your Apex chat, Jay. The only thing that's got me for April Fool's Day was Netflix, and Netflix are making an Apex Origins series. And I was like, really?
Yeah.
Clicked on the fucking YouTube link, and it's like, fuck you. Like, it was like, you pricks. It's the only thing that got me for April Fool's Day. Check it out, Jay, in the
I
Discord.
will check it out. I've been busy in Liverpool all day, boys.
Suck a dick.
Yeah, I always fucking forget, man. Like every time I put it on, I always forget that there's no chill in Apex, man. It's like you better, like from the second the game starts, sweat your ass off or you're dead.
Yeah.
And in most cases, sweat your ass off and you're still dead.
You're still dead. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I gotta say that like Apex is one of them games that can give me complete elation of having the greatest game ever to like I just want this game to just be destroyed and never shown to anyone
I hate
ever
this
again.
game so much. I would actually let somebody into my house to take my PlayStation from me just so I could never see it again.
The way I could eradicate this from history.
Yeah.
I would do it.
Weirdly enough, right, they did a scientific study on all of the major competitive shooters, and out of every single one, Apex was the one that raised its players' heart rates the most out of every other shooter. CS:GO, Warzone, Fortnite, everyone, both at a competitive and casual level.
Is that because it's more frantic of a game in general, like, or
it's because it's the most prevalent with third party, so you're always on edge.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like the nature of it. It plays out like that. Yeah.
And it's just so fast. Like there's such a high, like in terms of the exception of Fortnite and building, none of the other shooters come even remotely close in terms of skill ceiling. Because like the skill ceiling in terms of Apex, just regardless of abilities and gunplay, just simply moving around the environment is like up here. You know, I've been playing the game for what 3.5 fucking years, like pretty hardcore, and there's like what's classed as like basic high level sort of movement techniques that I couldn't even begin to get my head around. You know what I mean? It's just like it's fucking insane.
Like,
just
if you watch someone who's actually great at Apex, you'll see them just like if you watch us, you'll know me and Rich.
I was just like, don't say great and then you in the same bracket.
No, I'm not that mad.
I'll link you a couple of guys on TikTok because I save loads of Apex stuff. I'll link you, and you're just watching it, and you're just like, I don't even know what you're doing there.
No, I don't know.
That's insane.
I've seen a Wraith like climb the entirety of Streamer Tower without using the rope, and I'm going.
Yeah, the outside.
I don't know how you've achieved this. Like you can't. can't
Where is he?
metal function.
It's mad, isn't it? There's always that, like in the games, you think like, oh, I'm pretty good at this game, and then you'll see like a TikTok and someone will pull off some move that you're like,
yeah,
I'm not even sure I could do that if I knew how to do it.
I just don't install the game, TJ. I don't even fight it anymore. No, I'm right. Uninstall.
It's like these little spins, tricks, flicks, and you're just like, where's the third hand that they've got to do this? Like,
you see, I mean, I remember the first time I saw someone do an octane jump and then move sideways, and I was like, well, hold on. I know how jumping works. That's not how jumping works. You can't jump straight up, then go sideways, then you. That's not how jumping works.
Yeah, I've sent you a TikTok and Discord, TJ,
cool.
for your perusal later.
Right, guys, I think we're gonna have to bring this show to
it's rather late
because
longest one yet.
Yeah, we killed it. We killed it as much as anything could be killed.
We took some very long meandering paths.
Yeah, we did.
We are close to over half an hour, like longer than any other pod we've done. So
Jesus, that's 3 hours something.
It's coming up for 3.5 hours.
Oh wow.
Right, okay, we are gonna have to close this off because no one will ever listen to this pod ever.
Fusey will.
We'll be wondering.
Fusey will.
He's got time.
Well, it depends. We'll cut up the spicy bits and we'll put them on YouTube as shorts, and loads of people will come in.
Right, guys. So it's been amazing having you spend your time with me as always, Rich and TJ. It got a bit heated. It'll probably get heated again, guys. So
I loved it.
Don't worry about that. Right. So I've been.
TJ.
You too, dude. Oh. Be still my beating heart.
Yeah. Oh, that's it. Yeah. Oh, see, they love each other, guys.
This
Everyone
guy,
calm down.
Yeah, this guy's a prick.
Yeah, he's got a wanker. Yeah.
Right, guys. So remember, like and subscribe. I've been Jay Firefly Zero. I've been with Rich.
Love Convoy on Instagram. Peace out.
And TJ.
Proper TJ on all social media and streaming on Twitch as well on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Right. We will see you all again next week, kids.
See you later, you little ginger moron.
In a bit. Peace.
Let me break it all down for you. I ain't never giving up, I ain't never giving up. Taking that crown from you. I ain't worried about you, I ain't never. So let me break it all down for you. I ain't never giving up, I ain't never giving up. I'm taking that crown from you. I ain't worried about you.